Are you listening? Damn.
Welcome to the AFC North Talk. I am your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Sonny of SCG Sports. Sonny, how you doing today, bro?
I'm here.
Yes, sir. We also have my man, Tony Serino, in the left corner. Tony, what's going on, bro?
Not much, Ace. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about my Steelers. It's a hell of a week. It's a hell of a week.
Never in doubt. Never in doubt. And of course, my man Quincy Courier representing the Browns. Quincy, what's up, bro?
Hey man, how everybody doing?
Pretty good.
You okay?
I'm doing great. Doing great.
Oh yeah, Tony, you guys are the Bengals and the Steelers are the big winners this week.
Yeah, feeling very good. Feeling very good today.
Yes, definitely. So for you guys watching, you're in for a treat. We decided to make this a huge show. So we're going to actually do our review in this show, and then we're also going to preview as well. So stay tuned. We're going to try to do this in a timely fashion. But first, I want to kick off something that we haven't done before. And this is, you guys have been asking for the rankings and what our thoughts are on the top 4 AFC North teams. So as of heading into week 16, after week 15, I just want to get everybody's kind of ranking on the top 4 teams in the order that you think that they are. Now, it's not based on an order just off of who just won, but it's where you see the rest of these teams kind of landing as far as the rest of this season. So I'll start things off. We'll go with Sonny. What are your top 4 teams in order? So you can go 4 or you can go 1, whichever way you want to do it.
I think 4, very close to third, will be Steelers. I have the Steelers 4th. They're not playing bad. Not playing great either. I mean, that game was fun to watch. Tennessee said, like,
Agreed.
Past the fifth. Well, we're gonna talk about it later. But anyway, 4th, and then 3rd. I'll say the Ravens right now. It's just they're hurting right now. I mean, the COVID list for us is growing now, plus all the injuries. So it's going to be hard against 3 passing teams that we have left. And then 2nd, the Browns. And I said this like 3 weeks ago that the Bengals should win the division. I still sustain that.
So is this ranking how we think the rankings are going to turn out at the end of the year, or just like play on the field? How do I think these teams are playing?
Right now. So next week,
how are they playing?
Different, but just right now, based off of it now, how would you feel about the rankings?
How the teams are playing on the field, I would put Bengals 1, Ravens 2, and then I'm not going to let the COVID thing. Oh God, am I going to put the Steelers then Browns, or Browns and Steelers? I mean, those two are so close.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, I would put Steelers 3, Browns 4, because the Steelers are winning games, whereas the Browns are not. So, yeah, I would go Bengals, Ravens, Steelers,
I would say
Browns.
this, Tony. You told me that the Ravens game was a work. I still can remember the word they used, a work.
The Ravens are a work. Yeah. I kept saying that all year. Yeah, the
Let
Ravens
me
are a
tell
work.
you this. That Steelers game looked like a work.
What do you mean? That's what we do all year. I don't know. I mean,
I don't
the
know
Steelers
why
play every
you
team
guys
the same way.
both have teams that are absolute works. Like both of you guys, it's like clockwork. I saw the Steelers were playing at 1:00, and I was like, I don't got to show it to the 4th quarter.
Listen,
I literally planned
right.
my day.
That's exactly right.
Literally planned my day on Sunday to be like, yeah, I'll go get some groceries. I'll go work out. I'll be back by the 4th quarter. I'll catch everything I need to.
Exactly.
And I did.
They're like, everybody says about an NBA game, right? Don't watch an NBA game until the last 20 seconds or whatever, right? That is the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. You don't have to watch. Just turn the 4th quarter on. You'll see the whole. That's it. That's everything.
It really is. They just wait until the 4th quarter and turn it on. Q, what would you say your rankings are as the AFC North stands as of now?
It's easy for me. Browns are 4. And the only reason I have them behind the Steelers is that the Steelers can sometimes show life on offense. I have not seen any life. Honestly, and this is going to sound like a joke, but I'm dead serious. What I saw from the Browns last night was probably the most life and well-run offense I've seen in the last 6 weeks. So when that is the case, when Nick Mullins has brought you more joy on offense than the whole starting offense in the last 4 weeks, yeah, you're last. You're last in that whole thing. I think the defense is probably better than Pittsburgh, but I think offense matters a little bit more because we see the difference, right? Browns defense is probably playing at a higher level than Pittsburgh's defense, but the Pittsburgh Steelers could still beat the Tennessee Titans because they can get something offensively every once in a while in the fourth quarter. Like, they can get that at least. The Browns cannot get that. We cannot get any of that. And that has been a huge problem there. Pittsburgh, obviously, 3. And then it's kind of a toss-up between the Bengals and the Ravens. I kind of default to a couple of things here. One, I just don't know what it is about this Ravens team, but I just trust them more, right? So I think if there's a game they need to win, regardless of who's out there, I feel like they just win those games for whatever reason. Like, they're just annoying in that front. And since I've dealt with that for a while, I mean, they almost beat the Green Bay Packers without Lamar Jackson and a host of guys. Like, we gave them no shot in that game beforehand. They almost won that game. You got to give them number one just about how they're playing with all the things that they're going towards. And then the Bengals are the 2 team, but they could clearly be the 1 team by the end of this. Look, 1 team is going to pull away, I think, at the end of this year. I would put money that that's going to be the Bengals, but I wouldn't put money. I feel like logically, this is what I'm going with. I feel like logically it should be the Bengals because they're the better and more complete team out of everybody in this division. But if I had to put money on it, just based off my gut feeling, I would say it's going to be Baltimore because this is usually what they do at this point of the year, especially once Lamar Jackson gets back and he's like healthier. But yeah, I would go I'm messing up. Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and then Browns.
This one for me is tough because Quincy, I feel like you're being a little too tough on your team just because you guys had to deal
No, Ace. I am barely like here's the thing. If you think I'm factoring the COVID week on this, it is a positive for this team compared to everything else this team has put me through since the Detroit game. Like, that's what makes me down on this game, on this team, is everything before that, the starting thing. The fact that Nick Mullins came in there and scored 14 points, honestly, that's a positive. That's why I'm not completely like it's them by themselves and it's not even close. So, like, nah, man, I've seen enough of this offense, and I know this offense is not winning football.
No, I feel you. I think for me, it's tough because looking at this, like you guys said, you can't ignore what the Ravens are doing right now. Even without Lamar Jackson, they're still toe-to-toe in these games. And, Huntley right now is balling right now for them. And they literally, the last 2 weeks, literally have lost those games on a 2-point conversion. So if it goes either way, we're potentially saying that they've got 2 wins in a row. So for me, I think this bottom one is going to be tough. I'm going to go with the Steelers just because we've been kind of seeing that. I feel like the Steelers could easily be number 2 here, but they're number 4 simply because we've seen them 3 weeks in a row just wait until the fourth quarter. And we know that if they go against, a better team potentially later down the road, but I don't know. We can't say that because they did it against the Chargers.
They did it to the Titans, right? I mean, we'll talk more about that game, but it is, it's one of those where it's like, well, when they play a better team, but
they
AFC,
literally have done the same thing against better teams too. So I'm gonna go with the Steelers here, just because I feel like I have more confidence somewhat in the Browns, who's gonna be my number 3. The Browns, I think, just had some bad luck this week with that. I think coming off of the game that they had last week against the Ravens, I think that they definitely bounced back. Obviously, they had some concerning things in the second half of that game, right, where you wanted to see them step on the gas. But I kind of felt like that was more Kevin Stefanski just trying to be very conservative there. So I'm going to go with the Browns there because I really like what I've seen from this defense. I mean, they're the 4th, according before last night. I don't know where the standings are now. They were the 4th ranked defense in the NFL. That defense is legit. Obviously, Myles Garrett, all of those guys that they had, I really thought that the defense was going to pull it out there for them. And then, like you said, Nick Mullins is coming off of the practice squad, and this guy is still able to have them in a fight. So kind of some Raven-esque kind of competition, I think, there. even with their backup quarterback. I think once they get Baker Mayfield, this is how I'm kind of viewing this, is with Baker Mayfield, with those other guys back in that are on the COVID list now, I think that they are number 3, potentially number 2, honestly. Like, I think Tony was on to something a few weeks ago when he was like, the Browns could win this division. But that COVID thing definitely kind of took some air out of the sails. But I think that they're right there in terms of talent. They could easily win this division. So I don't think that that's out of the question here. But I've got the Browns 3 for now. And 2, I think I'm going to go with the Ravens. The Ravens could potentially be number 1, right? Because they've gone through all of this with losing Calais Campbell, with losing Lamar Jackson, and they've still been in a lot of these games. And honestly, as a Bengals fan, we'll touch on this later, I might be more scared of them with Huntley than Lamar with how Huntley's been playing, as far as him playing well these last couple of games. And it doesn't seem like anyone can really kind of stop him or contain him. And that's kind of what you get when you have a player that people don't have film on. But even with all of that, they still are up there. They're still in every game this season. I'm not going to say the scrappy Ravens because they're way better than the scrappy tag, but they've definitely done their thing there. The Bengals, I'm cautiously putting us at 1 because even though we're in the driver's seat now, we've had some concerning things too. You talk about some of the starts to games that we've had that really haven't been really well in the first half at all. That's going to catch up to us just like it's going to catch up to Pittsburgh. The only difference is for Pittsburgh, for some reason, it's wait until the 4th quarter instead of the 3rd quarter to kind of turn it on. I mean, with the Browns, they just have had, things that are out of their control with the COVID list and things of that nature. So for now, I'm putting the Bengals there, but I think any of these 4 spots can change within the next couple of weeks, as we've already seen. So I'm going to get into some super chats real quick here. Thank you guys for sending in those super chats. They are open. If you want any of your super chats read during the show, you can easily submit those in the chat box. So I'm going to start with, I believe, our first one here, and it comes from my man Nandon for $2.79. He says that the Bengals are going to prove the haters wrong. Who they? I'm going to say we're just going to have to prove it at the end of the season. Like, if we are going to do that, they're going to have to finish strong, try to win the division, or at least try to get into this playoff race, because you can go from number 4 to number 12 quickly within a week. So
within a game,
within a game,
3 hours.
It comes at you fast. We'll go to the next one here. New Mexico Rays for $5. If the Bengals beat the Ravens and if the Steelers win out all remaining games, where does that put Pittsburgh? I'll let Tony answer this one.
Yeah. So the Steelers road to the playoffs right now is relatively easy. So it's one of 2 things need to happen. Either if the Steelers were to win out, right, meaning they beat Kansas City, and we'll talk about that later in the show. That did get a little more interesting today as we found out about Kansas City's COVID issues. But so if the Steelers win out, they need both the Bengals and the Ravens to lose 1 game. If they both lose, they only need the Bengals to lose a game. They'll have beaten the Ravens, so they just need the Bengals to lose 1 of their next 3 games. And the Steelers will be the division champs. If the Steelers lose 1 game, then they need both the Ravens and Bengals to lose 2 games. Of course, the Ravens will have already lost because Steelers, if they'll say they lose to the Chiefs, and the Steelers would beat the Ravens and Browns. So they need the Bengals to lose 2 and the Ravens to lose 1 more. That 1 more likely being that one against the Rams in all likelihood. So, I mean, that's the way it goes, right? Steelers win out. They need the Bengals to lose 1. If they lose 1, then they need the Ravens to lose 1 more, and they need the Bengals to lose 2. And that's their way to win the division. Yeah.
All right. So we got, of course, Tony knows that off the top of his head, right?
I do, yeah.
So we got a super chat here.
Been studying it all night.
For 17 for $5. Appreciate that, man. How are the Ravens not in the playoffs right now, but the Colts and Chargers are? Ravens beat them both, and all 3 teams are 8-6. Sonny, is this something that you know? Because it's been a whirlwind for me.
Yeah, so when you have a 3-way tie, the head-to-head gets tossed off the window, and it's conference record.
Unless all 3 played each other. Unless you all played each other.
Well, yes. But you're right.
That's
but
why
the Colts
division tiebreakers are always head-to-head.
Yes. But the Colts, my bad. I forgot to mention that. The Colts and Chargers haven't played each other. So that's why I mean that part gets tossed. And then it's conference record, right? And then
it's division record, I thought.
Not the division. I always get this confused. Not the AFC North. It's the AFC record.
It's conference. No, you're right, Sonny. It's conference.
It's the AFC record. because
AFC is drunk. I think the entire AFC conference is
no,
drunk.
the conference record goes.
Just win your division.
Yeah,
we've been putting this all on the
well?
AFC North, but the Dolphins are literally in contention right now.
Yeah.
After
the Dolphins are sneaky. I mean, they can't stop winning. What I will say this: if you ever want to know like the specific reasons of why your team isn't in, go to ESPN's playoff standings. Go to their standings page and then click on playoffs. They give you a reason of who broke what tiebreaker, so you can see exactly how it happened. Yeah, I think they actually do a pretty good job. Also, this is a side note here, but their playoff machine, which they hide it a little bit, but their playoff machine is a 10 out of 10 tool to play out any kind of matchup you want.
And this is from NFL.com's website. So again, 3 or more clubs tied. Head-to-head first, obviously, all 3 of those teams have to play each other. Best win-loss tied percentage in games played within their own division is the second tiebreaker. The Ravens have an awful division record right now.
They do.
And then best win-loss tied percentage in common games, and then it goes to conference after that. Then strength of victory.
Yeah, strength of victory is a good one.
Strength of schedule. And then after that, it gets loony. There's 12 other ones that go down to like best net touchdown, net points, and then coin toss.
Coin toss.
Wow. If we get it to go all the way down to a coin toss for like
that would be epic
playoff spot,
people will riot.
Insane. Got another super chat here from Jocko Johnson for $2. No joke. All us Bengals fans are praying that Lamar plays. And I think that's just no disrespect to Lamar. I think Huntley is kind of scary right now, just as an outsider looking in. He is.
We're gonna need to touch on that when we talk about that game because it's an interesting like sub note of that game. Yes,
definitely for sure. We got another super chat here from Eric Spicer and Tony. We actually kind of foresaw this coming.
Oh yeah, no, Quincy did this. Congratulations, Quincy, you did this. You did this.
For $5, he says, "Q." At least you can take solace in the late season. Kingsbury collapsed. Might go from 7-0 to a wild card and a first round exit.
Now I'm gonna fully wait until it fully goes down to take my full victory lap. But I'm just telling you, there are patterns with Cliff Kingsbury that exist, right? Like there are patterns that were foreseeable that I took so much flack for pointing out, and I'm just saying, losing to the Lions feel like one of them patterns gonna hold up. I'm just saying.
Can't imagine losing to the Lions. That would be terrible. That would be bad.
Yeah, losing to the Lions. Oh man, as a contender,
could you imagine losing? Wow.
That's an NFC loss. That's
true.
That was an ugly one that definitely put my fantasy team
just
in the
lose.
dirt.
They low key got a booty beat down.
Oh no, they got their ass kicked.
They did get a booty beat down for sure.
You see, no Hopkins. What happens with no Hopkins?
It's almost like the star players on that team have bailed out Cliff Kingsbury his entire career, but that's not what we're going to talk about.
So we got another super chat here from Nova Stone 12, $2. Don't expect the Ravens to win any game, but better pick.
Better draft pick, I think.
Better draft pick? Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he means.
You got to think, though, that the Ravens are going to win at least
they gotta
one.
Win.
They got
how many games have they won that we didn't expect them to win?
Let me just say this, and we'll touch on it later. The Ravens have currently 4 healthy corners. This is with the 2 practice squad people that they brought. They just signed another practice squad corner. And then right now they only have 3 outside linebackers because 2 went to the COVID list for this upcoming game against Bengals. So that's going to be fun.
I feel like the Ravens play better the less players they got.
Yeah. It's like the more adversity. That's the work of it, right? It's like the more adversity they face, like the better they get.
That's the work.
Got another super chat here from Ray Rags 14 for $5. Says Browns defense is legit, but the offense is awful and the kicker is trash. He should have been cut on the spot and told to find his own way home. Quincy, any remarks to that?
He should have been cut 2 weeks
ago. Isn't this the kicker Q that people were saying that he was one of the greatest things that happened to the Browns?
Don't you dare do this to me, Sonny. I know what you're trying to do here. Look, y'all do this every year with every single kicker. This show has been going on for 3 years, and there's been 3 separate kickers that Browns fans have legitimately done this to me for, and it ends the same way. So stop hanging on to these kickers. You got to let them go. You can't love them. You can't cuff them. You out here trying to cuff. He belongs to the streets. Let him go. Let him loose. Let him loose.
Facts. We got another super chat here from my man, Mr. Whisper, for $5. Ace Eli Apple. seems to be improving every week. Do you think he needs to start over Waynes until he catches up? Trey looked rough yesterday. I mean, Eli Apple is playing out of his mind. Since I believe about 3 weeks ago, he has not allowed any receiving yards. He's got some interceptions in that span. Trey Waynes, I'm going to be real with you. I never really thought Trey Waynes was really an answer. To me, he was just a better tackling Dre Kirkpatrick, right? He's going to be a guy that's going to give up some plays in the passing game, but at least he can tackle, right? So with Trey Waynes, I definitely think he did look rough. I definitely think you do roll with Eli Apple over Trey, especially until he gets up to speed, because this guy has played, 2 games in 2 years? Yeah, let him get up to speed and definitely go with Apple. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to do some of the recaps. But before we do that, we need to pay some bills.
Oh, I'm on mute. Oh, boy, that was almost a disaster. All right. It's holiday season, and you don't know what to get as a gift or stocking stuffer. Well, today's sponsor, Manscaped, has the tools to guarantee you win this year's stocking stuffer or white elephant competition. Manscaped is the leader in men's below-the-waist grooming, and they have served more than 4 million men worldwide. If my math is correct, that's almost 8 million balls. Get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with our promo code AFC North Talk. That's AFC North Talk, all one word. Ho, 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 fellas. Naughty or nice, 'tis the season to perform. And Manscaped's best-selling product is the Performance Package 4.0, which is at the top of every man's wish list this year. Inside, you'll find their lawnmower body trimmer, the best trimmer on the market for your balls, butt, and body, and the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Let's not forget their liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner to maximize your ball hygiene routine. Get the Performance Package now to receive their 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and their Shed Travel Bag. The dads can't stop talking about this, the teens secretly buy this, and the women will love you for it. Make sure you hurry to their site to ensure you get these wild gifts to show up before the holiday season. And while you're at it, get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. But you got to use our promo code AFC North Talk. That's AFC North Talk. Whether this is for your partner, dad, brother, friend, get them something they will actually use, and it's almost sure to get a laugh.
All right. Thank you, Tony, for that. Before we get into this Ravens game, we got one last super chat here from Colton Carlson for $1.99. Steelers need the Ravens to lose 1-2. Look at it real quick. We'll pretty much get that figured out. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, no, I will real quick. If we're talking about the Steelers winning out, then if the Steelers win out, the Ravens will have lost the game, right? Because they play each other. So that's, Now, if he's talking about the Ravens need to lose one more, if the Steelers lose, then yes, that's right.
Just like if the Bengals need to win out, right? That means that they force Cleveland to have their highest win total to be 9 wins because they win a game. And then they play Baltimore one more time, right?
Yeah.
And they also force a loss with Baltimore, which also, like, the Bengals are probably in the best position possible because they can actually play Baltimore and force Baltimore to lose. Other teams in the AFC North are relying on Baltimore to lose one more. Well, the Steelers can also force Baltimore to lose. I don't know how the half game works in there, right? But basically for every team, right? If they win out, they win because we play each other. But it's the same way with the Browns, right? The Browns win out. They would have to beat the Bengals one more time, which gives them the head-to-head. They would beat the Steelers, which splits the head-to-head, and then goes to division, and then that would go to the Browns, and then it would go that way and that way, so on and so forth with the Ravens and so on. But yeah, that's kind of how it works out. If your team wins out, you're going to win this division because we're all playing.
10 is the magic number. I think whoever gets to 10, that I actually
or 9-7-1 or 9-7-1. 9-7-1, 9-7-1.
I think 10. I think you have to have a 10. If you're below 10, you're not winning the division. I think only one team will be on the 10.
Definitely. So with that being said, Sonny, let's get into the Ravens game. Ravens lose a tough one to the Packers, 31-30. Let's kick things off with you, Sonny, to just get your thoughts on the game.
Look, I would say I was super proud of my team. I thought that they played really good, really tough. I was pissed that they went for it on that first drive. They should have taken the field goal when it was 4th and 4 or 4th and 5. I would have taken the 3 points. I know Harbaugh probably was like, well, we need to score a touchdown because they're gonna just throw it over us, which happened. I mean, we forced a punt in the first series of the Packers. I think it probably was a 3-and-out. I can't remember right now. But after that, I mean, the Packers were just moving the ball nonstop. We had one starting corner from week 1, which is Tavon Young, and he left early in the game with a concussion. So obviously that as soon as Tavon left, that made it worse. They tried to double Devontae, and it was so bad. You get double team right in the corner, and so what they were doing is instead of putting Avery on Devontae, they said we're gonna take like a lesser corner, right? Like whatever the depth chart these corners are that you just brought up because they haven't played for us. We're gonna put one of them on Devontae, and then we're gonna put a safety right to bracket him up. Well, you have the safety working on inside, right? So you expect the corner to force the receiver inside. No, Devontae does just a fake to the inside, and the corner just runs to the inside. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You have help inside. You just don't have help outside. But again, these corners are not having been playing all year, right? We had Geno Stone, which is a safety, was not starting the whole year, playing corner because we were desperate in corner. And with all that, this team was 2-point conversion for potentially winning the game. I support it. I mean, I was telling my wife, like, if they score, they need to go for 2. And she's like, no, they can't. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going with Rodgers. We cannot stop them. And she's like, they just stopped him. It's different because in the previous series, because some Ravens fan brought this up, we just stopped the Packers in the previous series. The Packers are winning by 7. They don't want to stop the clock, right? They go more conservative. On third down, they try to throw. The Ravens blitz. Sorry. And they got the Rodgers. So at that point, that series wasn't how the Packers was operating on offense. To be honest, if we would have scored a 2-point conversion, I don't even know if we win. Right? There's 32 seconds. How that secondary is playing, I'm not even sure if Rodgers wouldn't be able to just go down the field. The thing is, Crosby is not a reliable kicker at this point, so Crosby could have missed the kick. But I think they could have been in position to kick the game-winning field goal. But anyway, Huntley played well. We were missing 2 O-lines of the ones that we were missing, but the left guard was out, and the right tackle wasn't out, Phillips, but he left the game. The new right tackle played fairly well. But one thing, because everybody's praising Huntley, and I have been praising him as well, the difference right now between how Huntley is playing and Lamar is two things. Huntley is taking more of the approach of let me throw it quicker. Basically, his first read is on the underneath. First read is on the underneath versus Lamar's first read tries to be a long pass, which I've been criticizing this for a while, right? I keep saying, if you have a bad O-line, why are you looking always to make the deep pass? Well, Lamar wants to do the home run because it worked early in the year. As this O-line has gotten worse because of injuries, you had to bail on that, right? Especially against good pass rushing teams. The Packers pass rushing is okay. It's not great. Obviously, they didn't have Zadarius Smith in this game. Or if he was there, he was.
I don't think he was in.
I
He's
think
on IR right now.
He was supposed to be able to come back between this week against the Ravens and next week. But Huntley looked to me like, let me operate on the underneath for the most part. And when you saw him scrambling once when he was looking deep, and that's where you see him then scrambling, trying to make a play. That's where Lamar does the same thing. And him and Lamar, they go on the running mode. I would say this also. Shout out to Mark Andrews. My guy is a beast. He has been, because where the ball's going, right? It's Mark Andrews, and he was still making plays. On that last 2-point conversion, my biggest problem, not that they went for it. I supported the idea. I supported they went for the win. It's the play call. I hated the play call. I think even in this show I have mentioned this, that I hate when they do the rolling pocket. I hate it. And you know what I hate the most? In the red zone. Why? Like if it is like you're in the 40, the rolling pocket might work because then you can sneak somebody on the other side. If your quarterback has a strong arm, you can just but in the red zone, there's no padding for the other side. You literally just gonna just go to that side. You only have Mark Andrews. What do you think they're gonna key in? Mark Andrews has been eating. They're gonna key in on Mark Andrews. I would have just spread them out, 4 receivers, not 5, who keep the running back just in case they blitz. And one read to Huntley on the underneath, right? Because that's what he feels comfortable in the middle. You look, it's not there. Run.
Is the thinking there that potentially with you having a mobile quarterback that another option is that he could run it in? Is that what
That
they
could be the thinking, but the problem is as soon as you roll the pocket, all that defense just collapsed to the right. Unless you were faking almost like a bootleg and go left, then maybe. But you can see that defense just completely collapsed to the right. There was no way to go for him. So I hate that play call. Even when it works, every time I see that, I'm like, shit. No, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. So, but again, nobody gave them no shot. This includes me, right? No shot to the Ravens. And for them to play as hard as they did, as tough as they did, I would say they show a lot of heart. People hate on Harbaugh. When you have a team like that is basically a shell of what it was at the beginning of the year and plays as hard as they did against currently the best record team-wise, right, in the whole NFL, which is the Packers. You know, I'm happy with that. Obviously, I would have won the win. I said last week that of all the games, this for me was the least important. The most important were the Steelers and the Bengals for playoff purposes. But hey, again, they play hard. Shout out to them for playing hard. Sucks that we didn't win, but I was happy with the performance.
Yeah, I agree. I'll take one real quick and then I'll shoot it to Tony. For me in this game, I think initially I just thought that it was a foregone conclusion, not because of the Ravens, right? It was really because of no Lamar Jackson versus a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, right? And literally towards the end of the show last week, we thought about it and we were like, okay, what way could the Ravens make this game exciting, right? And we thought about the Tyler Huntley factor, right? He's a quarterback that no one really has much film on. Obviously, he's a scheme fit for that offense and is able to do a lot of the things that we've seen Lamar Jackson now. I'm not saying that at MVP level, but obviously he's able to be utilized in that offense the same way. I thought, like you said too, Sonny, Mark Andrews at one point in that game was just unstoppable. You knew that it was going to him, and you knew that whenever they needed to play, they just went right to Mark Andrews. And it seemed like, honestly, I thought that game was going to end up being a Ravens win. I'm not going to lie. Like when I saw how they were driving against that defense and how the Green Bay defense just could not stop the Ravens whatsoever, I just thought that it was a foregone conclusion that the Ravens were going to pull a Raven like they have in a lot of these games and come back and win, right? Like we saw Tyler Huntley do that against the Bears. I thought that this was going to be one of those things. I think that it's definitely a commendable effort for them. I don't think that it's a disaster. I think that this actually shows that this Ravens team with Lamar Jackson or with Huntley can definitely contend with other teams in this division. So definitely, I think a great performance by the Ravens here. I think you're more confident in your backup quarterback situation. But with that being said, Tony, what were your thoughts on this game?
Well, a couple things. You know, we got to talk about the 2-point conversion thing right off the top because that's kind of where I had friends texting me right after the game ended. Like, how could you imagine being a Ravens fan and watching your team lose that way? 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and it's like, look, as much as I want to join in with Steelers Twitter, who were going nuts about what a bad coach John Harbaugh is for making that decision. Like, I agree with Harbaugh. I agreed with Harbaugh in both. Well, actually, with the Steelers game, I kind of didn't. I get that Humphrey got hurt on that last play, right? He got hurt on on Johnson's touchdown, so they were going to go into overtime with very, very few wide receivers or corners.
Yeah, so they lost 2 corners in that game.
In the Steelers game, yeah.
In the Steelers game, yeah.
Yeah. So that one, it's like, it's Lamar Jackson versus Ben Roethlisberger in overtime, right? Who do you trust more? And it's like, look, as much as I want to be a Ben guy, like, I think Lamar and Justin Tucker are going to take that one in OT. So that's why I kind of didn't understand them. But look, I get being aggressive in the situation. I certainly understood in this situation because as everything Sonny said, first of all, you got Aaron Rodgers with 40 seconds to go. So right then and there, right, he's already got a chance to go right down the field. And whether or not the game is tied or not, or you're down or you're up by 1, you got to, he's got a chance right there to win the game. But then you go into overtime and you got Aaron Rodgers again. You got your depleted defense and specifically that depleted secondary. Like I don't like my chances there, right? So give Aaron Rodgers one shot, not two, which I like.
Yeah.
The only thing, okay, so here's a couple things. Sonny talked about the play call. I think he's exactly right. When you cut the field in half at the end like that, it's so stupid, right? What are we doing here? Like I understand it's Tyler Huntley, so he's probably making a half field read anyway with whatever play call you're going with. But still, I mean, everything Sonny talked about as far as
I agree, but the defense doesn't know what half. As soon as
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's like everything you talked about with kind of cutting the field in half for the defense too. That's where you screw it up, right? Because the defense knows which way you're going once you start rolling that way. It's like he's going to throw across his body to the other side. So here's my thing with the 2-point conversion. I didn't understand, and this is hindsight 2020 stuff. But why not go for 2 after you cut it from 14? Now this is the whole math of like, and I'm sure you guys have heard this from the analytics community who say when you're down by 14, you should always go for 2. Right? After you cut the lead to 8, you should always go for 2. Now, I'm not going to get into the math behind that. It does make sense. If you think that you can convert 2-point conversions at a rate greater than 50%, then yes, you should absolutely go for 2 every time. And so if Harbaugh felt like he was good on 2-point conversions, then I really actually don't understand why he didn't go for 2 the first time, because then you have 2 chances to get the 2-point conversion there. Potentially, if you get it the first time, you could have won the game by just kicking the extra point the second time.
I think there will be more pressure on a guy that is on a second start against Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. You're just putting more pressure to him, right? Because now you have to convert twice if you miss the first one. So I think that
you only have to convert once if you miss the first one, right? I mean, it's kind of the same deal.
If you missed it, then I agree. You only have to convert once, but you're going for it twice. That's my point.
Yeah. But the pressure on the second one is the same, right? I mean, it's I agree. Huntley. Let's talk about Huntley for a second, because the Huntley conversation. So I had the thought after the game of should you bench Lamar for the rest of the season, but only because he's injured, right? Only because he's not playing well and he's injured. So I thought I was going to come on here with this kind of crazy hot take. Then Ace immediately went on our private chat we have and said the exact same thing I was going to say on the show. I was like, okay, well, there goes that hot take. Then today on Twitter, I saw Lance Zierlein, who does all the NFL.com draft stuff, go on there and say, should you even pay Lamar? Okay, should you even pay Lamar or just keep Huntley around? I mean, this Huntley thing has just gotten so overblown now. Look,
I told you, Tony. I told you. The only quarterback controversy is somebody's going to give Tyler Huntley $15 million to play quarterback for him next year.
Yeah, and it could be my Steelers, right? Because you want to talk about checking every box of what Mike Tomlin is now looking for in a quarterback.
He's not a free agent, though.
He's not a free agent, right?
He's in his second year, so
he's not on a 1-year deal.
Oh, he was drafted?
I saw it was a 1-year deal that he's on.
No.
But he's an exclusive rights free agent then.
So exactly. So every year,
he's essentially, because somebody's going to offer him like $10-15 million.
No,
you're not going to match that, right?
No, you can't.
Exclusive rights match it.
Exclusive rights.
So what the Ravens can do?
Oh, you could trade him.
They say here's a first round tag to it, right? If you want to offer him, you have to give us a first round. No, two.
No. That's restricted. Exclusive rights means you just have him. Period.
That's right.
Yeah. So you can just trade him.
So you could trade him, but there's no putting a draft pick on him. Yeah. This is disgusting. So let's just talk about Tyler Huntley for a second, because I do think this Ravens offense, and I was gonna say this is gonna sound blasphemous, but I guess not, considering this is gonna sound like a very tame take, considering what the rest of the takes around the world are. I think this Ravens offense right now is better with a healthy Tyler Huntley than it is with a hurt Lamar Jackson. And this is not a slight on Lamar Jackson and his overall play. This kid has been an MVP in his career, and he will be great again. But he is very clearly not playing at 100%. And as Sonny talked about, his kind of wanting to do it all, wanting to be it all, is certainly setting back this offense in certain ways. And maybe this team is better with Huntley in the very, very short term than it is with Lamar Jackson. This is not a value judgment on whether or not this team should sign Lamar Jackson to a long-term deal. Of course they should. But I did come out of this game wondering if Huntley was better off in the short term for this team than Lamar Jackson is. And as I said, I guess that's a normal take now. It's a normal take now.
Yeah. It was a hot. You missed that hot take opportunity.
I did.
I'm gonna give a hot take here, and I'm gonna say this: 99% of people would say clearly you signed Lamar Jackson, right? This is what I'm going to say, and it has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson, the player, or anything of that nature. He's talented. He's an MVP level quarterback. We know this, right? I come from the school of thought where I have paid a quarterback before, right? And when you have to pay a quarterback, any quarterback in this league, it's always going to be a substantial amount of your cap space, right? And when you do that, the guys that you have waiting in the wings or the talented guys like the Marlon Humphreys of the world and stuff like that, eventually you have to chuck the deuces to those guys because you can't afford them because you're paying the quarterback so much. The Ravens are in a unique situation with this. And if they do bench Lamar Jackson for the rest of the season and they do get to see how this plays out with Huntley at quarterback, it gives them, I think, at least an option that they need to consider. Because if you're going to pay Lamar Jackson, that is going to be $50 million a year. We can sit and talk about 40 or whatever. Like Pat Mahomes just got 45. He's going to obviously reset the market. That is $50 million. The question that I always ask is Lamar Jackson $50 million better than Tyler Huntley? Because if you do keep Tyler Huntley, you're not going to have to pay him $50 million. You can trade Lamar Jackson, which you saw what people are getting for Deshaun Watson. What do you think people are going to be willing to give up for Lamar Jackson in a quarterback draft that is honestly complete garbage? Like if you were looking at Jacksonville right now and you were like, hey, I've got Lamar Jackson, that is literally the number one pick where you could add not only some premium talent in the draft, but also you would have enough money to pay some of those players and give you some cap flexibility. So I could see where somebody would at least think about it, right? Like, okay, yeah, I can trade Huntley, right? But what am I going to get for Huntley? I'm not going to get anywhere near as much as I can get for Lamar Jackson, where I'm not only going to get a surplus of money, I'm also going to get a surplus of draft picks with a team that has kind of been in these games with Lamar Huntley at quarterback. You talk about the Bears game, you talk about these last two games. They're literally a 2-point conversion away from Lamar Huntley being 3-0. I'm not trolling here when I say this. Bengals fans, we want you guys to sign Lamar Jackson, not because he's not a terrifying force, but because we know that that's going to lead to, just like Joe Flacco, a lot of your younger players that help out Lamar Jackson in this team not be able to be brought back. So I think when people are talking about it from that standpoint, that is what they're thinking. And I think people have had similar conversations with Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, and stuff like that. But I think the issue is the sample size is way too small. We haven't seen whether people are going to be able to look at the tape and figure out Huntley. We don't know what Huntley is. He could either be the next Tyrod Taylor. He could end up being, the next Drew Brees. Who knows? We don't know what Huntley is, but it's going to suck if you don't get much for Huntley. And then he goes off and he does this thing. And then 2 or 3 seasons from now, you're losing all of these players because you've had to not only pay Lamar Jackson. Don't forget the Pat Mahomes deal was 10 years. So that means that if you do something in that realm, you would be paying Lamar Jackson for 10 years. What do people always say about Lamar Jackson? I don't say this take, but the take is a running quarterback isn't going to last that long, right? So is Lamar Jackson going to be able to play out that contract until he's 34? These are things that you have to consider based on the advantages of that. And that's the advantage why you took Lamar Jackson in the first place, right? You had Joe Flacco on that big deal. You moved on from Joe Flacco so you could get that money back. You went with Lamar Jackson because he gave you that rookie contract and that flexibility. And that's what teams have done. They've always gone with, let's get the young guy, let's get that cap flexibility. So it's more than just Lamar versus Huntley. It's really cap flexibility, draft picks, all of this thing for the future of my team versus paying one guy. And the Ravens are going to have to make that decision. Obviously, they're going to keep Lamar, but I think that there is somewhat of, a fight to the other argument of, hey, they should really look at this.
Question for you, Ace, and then I have a counterpoint. In 2 years, do you want the Bengals to draft a quarterback to not to pay Joe Burrow?
You said in 2 years?
Yeah, right.
I don't. If I had a quarterback, so let's say in 2 years, Joe Burrow has the Bengals at like 8. Let's say Joe Burrow gets hurt a season from now, right? And we have a backup quarterback that's not making anything, comes in and wins like 5 or 6 games, and we could trade Joe Burrow or something like that for a king's ransom and not have to pay him and be able to keep T. Higgins, Chase, and Tyler Boyd, because they're not going to be able to do that with keeping Joe Burrow, right? Let's just be real. I would consider it. I wouldn't just say like this is.
The question is, will you do it or not? Like, because you're saying the Ravens.
I would say I would consider it. I'm not saying that the Ravens should do it. I'm saying that you need to actually think this whole thing through instead of just throwing it off to the side.
The big thing with Tyler Huntley is Tyler Huntley has looked good, right? I like Tyler Huntley, but Tyler Huntley, as a lot of quarterbacks that we have seen in the past, could be somebody that has played a couple good games and then they disappear, right? And having a guy like Lamar that has been proven good for the past 3 years, that we have said here the Ravens don't put enough weapons around Lamar, right? I mean,
That's
this
true.
show specifically, and Lamar has overcome all that. And us or points for the people that are saying that trade Lamar, it's like, oh, well, let's take Huntley. Huntley could be as good as Lamar, as you say. He could be worse. He can be better. But
he's not going to be better. No, let's not go that far. He's not going to be better than Lamar.
My thing is the unknown, right? And we tell this to Tony all the time, being in a QB purgatory where you have a quarterback that if he is not good, let's say he just lightning in a bottle right now, and then he becomes not good, now the Ravens have nothing. Right now the Ravens are like, we don't have a good quarterback. Our O-line, as we have stated here, is not great right now. So we have a good defense where everybody goes back, but what do you have? Right? Not having a good quarterback is critical. So although I have said before, paying a quarterback will decimate your team, but if you have the right quarterback, you have to pay him, right? This is why I asked you, like, if Burrow in 2 years, you have the same sentiment, then everybody, when the quarterback's in year 4, can say, well, let me see if I can draft the guy early, first round, second round, so I can just trade this guy, because then I can just say, well, I'm going to trade Burrow, get a bunch of first round picks. I can use my first round pick and another guy, trade Burrow, and then just keep it rolling, right? It's not
I'm not saying that you do that. I'm saying that you at least have to consider it. Like, you have to fully evaluate where Lamar Jackson is with your team. If you feel like a lot of the guys that are your core and your actual team, you can keep with Lamar and still end up winning the Super Bowl, then of course you keep him. But if there's still that question of, are we a Myles Garrett away from a Super Bowl, and I can go out and get Kayvon Thibodeau or somebody like that, I'm just saying that you should at least consider it. I don't think it should just be like, oh, we don't even consider this whatsoever.
Okay.
Go ahead, Quincy.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'll say, and we'll try to move on to another topic here.
Oh, no. We're not moving on. We're staying on this for another.
No. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. But I will say that I get the sentiment that you're coming here from, Ace, where you can't just like wipe it to the side. Oh, that's ridiculous. And I think that's with every decision that you make as an NFL team, you have to consider both sides of it. I would say, though, that the one side that I think gets too much weight in these conversations when we're talking about, like, we're not talking about a good quarterback. We're not talking about an okay quarterback. We're talking about a quarterback who has won the MVP, and has been in the conversation multiple years. And when that is the case, I think the conversation personally of how much you pay that level of quarterback is a little bit overrated, right? Because Green Bay, their chances to win don't rely on, oh, what does Aaron Rodgers have around him? It's usually about something Aaron Rodgers does or doesn't do that gives them that chance to win there, right? When you have that MVP level quarterback, that guy who can win you games, not just be carried, not just be a part of wins, but legitimately win you games, that guy is worth however much cap space you want to give him. Because, yeah, Marlon Humphreys is great, but Marlon Humphreys in his best year is not going to win you as many games as Lamar will on a regular year. So that's where I think, when we talk about that, like Patrick Mahomes, for instance, he's going to win you more games than, signing another wide receiver. And also you got to factor in that finding a new corner, finding a new wide receiver, finding a new tackle, or whoever you have to replace through the draft, levels of amplitude easier than figuring it out at quarterback. And for that, that's why they get paid that premium, right? Because they're so hard to find, especially game changers like Lamar Jackson is. And I think when we start talking about those guys, we can't really factor in, no disrespect, people like Baker, people like Andy Dalton, people like Ryan Tannehill, the quarterbacks that we don't really think are necessarily going to go above what their team provides them and make more out of it. Lamar Jackson's in a whole different conversation. And with those guys, yeah, I do think it's one of them things where it's just like, nah, man, you keep that dude on your roster as long as you can, because as long as you have a Lamar Jackson, you can win. You can win anything, right? You know, that's the same thing, right? And even if you have somebody who's not necessarily that level, but like right below it, like Ben Roethlisberger has been for the Steelers, there's not been a single year where Ben Roethlisberger has been healthy, where Steeler fans haven't thought at one point they could win the Super Bowl. Now, this year might be different, but this is like his last year. But even last year, people thought that this could happen, right? When he was playing well at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So having that level of quarterback who you feel like can win you games, that's worth more than $50 million. I think sometimes we get caught up into semantics of it and we factor in people like Ryan Tannehill, like Baker. Yeah, it matters how much you pay Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield's not going to be greater than the sum of his parts. Same thing with Andy Dalton in his prime. You know, same thing with a Joe Flacco. But when it comes to Lamar Jackson, ain't no parts you could put together that's better than just having Lamar Jackson. Right. By the way, if they don't want to sign him, I will personally donate into
No. Sorry. Mike Tomlin already loved Lamar coming out of the draft. Very sad that they passed on him. So he can make his way to Pittsburgh. Short drive down.
Bidding wars. Lamar Baker, take him.
I will. All right, just
but he is. Lamar is on the books for next year with the Ravens at like 20 mil.
Yeah, he's not walking. They snuck in and got him in the first round. Smart move by Ozzie Newsome right there. His last move in the first round was his best.
To put a cap on this discussion, I will say like the never Ace, your point about like never pay a quarterback, that like the never pay a quarterback meta, like a general manager actually executing that strategy would be fun, because there is a statistically speaking, the moment you put pen to paper on one of these quarterback deals, you are far less likely to ever make a Super Bowl. I believe, and I was trying to find the numbers as you guys were talking, I couldn't find them, but I believe the number is something like 70% of quarterbacks in the Super Bowl over the last 10 years or whatever it is have been quarterbacks on their rookie deal. Okay. So, you know, it is certainly a benefit in the NFL to not pay a quarterback, or to at least try to win, try to load up right now before you have to make that deal. So I understand where you're coming from, Ace, but I think
Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson.
You can't. Not with Lamar. Now you're not walking away from Lamar.
There's definitely some truth to that meta. I think we pay too many quarterbacks.
Yes.
So,
right.
Yeah, I think too many quarterbacks get paid. Like, I think the whole tier of like when you're going to your quarterback and you're like, hey, we're going to give him 3 years, $20 million a year. I think that tier of quarterback should just be abolished, because that never works out for anybody. Look at all the quarterbacks below $35 million on these long-term deals. They're almost always mistakes. It's like Jared Goff in there, like just a bunch of mistakes in there. So that's my thing. If you feel strongly that dude can win you games and you've seen him win you games, sign him. If you don't even bother with the whole, we're going to give him a $20 million extension and keep him for 5 years. Like, if you got that, keep him for 1 year and franchise tag him. We don't need to go long-term on mid-range quarterbacks anymore, because that has proven to be failed, right? That's what happened with Matt Stafford in Detroit. The mid-range contract never worked out for him. And you go long list of guys that have gotten those mid-range deals that never work out, because I think that is the area when we talk about quarterback money, it's important. But when we're talking about guys like Lamar, nah, man.
You definitely got to pay Lamar. One last thing that I will say on that, and Q, I need to get your take for the game between the Ravens and the Packers. But the one thing I'll say is, I think the biggest secret to Tom Brady's success are those team-friendly deals. Yeah, the fact that Tom Brady has never taken that much money, and that allows them to keep, the team around him pretty good, is definitely there. But Q, what were your thoughts on the Ravens and Packers game?
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. I think Tom Brady is part of his brilliance there too, because you never look at Tom Brady like too deeply unless he's doing stuff good, because he's not really getting paid that much money. So he kind of he doesn't ever enter these conversations. It's actually a really smart thing that he does there. But as far as this Ravens Packers game, this is the one we still on, right? Poor Sonny. Yeah. So honestly, I don't know. I know Raven fans are upset because of how the game ended. I agree with everything Harbaugh did at the end there. I mean, like, the less opportunities to give Aaron Rodgers the ball when you don't have a secondary the better. You know what I mean? Like, even if you stop Aaron Rodgers, you feel like you got lucky more than the defense figured something out, right? Like, that's even if you had everybody, you wouldn't want to do that. The fact that you had, I don't even think you had Westry out there, right? Like, I think he was out on the list, right?
No, he did play. No, I can't remember now.
You guys have
There's so
lost
many
everybody.
people out. We had
You
so
guys have
many
lost
people
everybody.
out.
Can't keep track.
Yeah, they had I saw at one point Robert Jackson was playing out there, and Robert Jackson was like all-time awful on the Browns.
He was in every single. There was Tavon Young. We lost Tavon Young. He and Seymour were in every single play with Avery. Those were your three corners.
Yeah, that's not good. I watched Robert Jackson last year in regular season and in training camp. He's not very good. But you know, the Ravens doing a good job with coaching. Huh?
He'll be there against the Bengals again.
Hey man, well, what did Chase Claypool call him? A barbecue chicken or something like that? It was something on TikTok. He was like, "Oh yeah, I smoked this dude off the rip," and I was like, "Yeah, it's our 15th stream corner." Like, it was one of those Chase Claypool moments.
Take the wins when you can get them.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You got to brag when you can. But yeah, look, with the Ravens and the Browns, I'm not gonna be too tough on them. We didn't expect these teams to win these games this week. They were dealt a difficult hand, and give it to the Ravens, man. They gave a hell of a fight. That's just the kind of team that they are, and that's why it makes me hard to think. It makes it difficult for me to bet against them to not win this division.
Facts. So with that said, we'll get into some super chats here. We got Nova Stone for $2. He says he thinks Stanley will be the same after the TJ dirty play.
Ronnie Stanley will be the same after the TJ Watt dirty play.
I think
he's asking a question. Do you think Stanley will be the same after the TJ? I'm assuming is that TJ or
did he get? Yeah, I guess he's blaming the injury on TJ Watt.
All right, we got another one here from Ben Tienchu for $5. Almost 8 million balls. LOL. There are people out there with just 1.5 balls. That is possible. I mean,
exactly. We're inclusive here on AFC North Talk.
Facts. We got another one here from Raven Smith for $6.99. Why won't Harbaugh demand a run play for the 2-point conversions when we run for touchdowns every time we're near the goal line? Sonny, what are your thoughts on that one?
So this is what I was saying. I wouldn't put them like a power run, right? Because you just have a new left guard and a new right tackle. I mean, you have probabilities of making it, but I would have just spread them. And Huntley's a good runner, he's a shifty runner, and said, okay, that takes half of this defense out because now the safeties might be out. You have one quick read, maybe a slant, right? If the guy's not open, then you say, Huntley, you read that. If the guy's not open, then you go. You keep the running back as a blocking scheme, part of the blocking in case they blitz him. And that's what I would have done. That was the play that I would love for them to run. A power run, maybe, especially in a read option. I wouldn't be. Let me put it like this: I would have not been mad on a power run read option. Way better than what they did. I thought what they did was crap.
And another one here for Sonny from Nova Stone for $2. Appreciate that. Nova Stone says, Sonny, do you prefer to lose to get a better pick or to try next year?
Never. Even the year that we went 5-11. Even that year that we went 5-11. I root for them to win every game. We beat the Steelers twice. If we didn't win against those Steelers team, for us was not important to beat them, right? Because that would have given us the 3rd overall pick. But no, I want them to win them all. And then what happens is if I knew the Ravens were not in contention, which is not this year, I wouldn't be mad when we lose, right? At the end of the game, I'm like, okay, whatever, we lost. But in here, we have a chance to make the playoffs. It's not like we're dead, right?
Not just make the playoffs. I mean, every team here has a chance to have a home playoff game. Every team is alive for the division.
Yeah. Not the time to lay down. Not the time to lay down whatsoever.
And just talk about the meta. The Ravens are actually good at drafting. I don't think they need to worry about if they get the 10th pick or they're usually pretty good at this thing, right? Like with the draft order only matters when you're fighting for number 1 and you suck at drafting, right? That's the Cleveland Browns thing. And even then, and let me tell you, tanking for better draft picks, it never works when you suck at drafting.
Got another one here from Majin Bull for Sunny. Why do the Ravens fans always want Harbaugh gone. Shake my head.
I would say this. I think this is the same for Steelers. This is the easiest person to blame is always the coach, right? It's easy to pick on the coach. It's easy to pick on the OC. And look, I will criticize the coach, OC, DC when they need to be criticized. I also know I'm here at home, my comfortable home, no stress situation when I'm trying to say, oh, they should spread them out, right? Versus them are like, oh, I had 30 seconds to come up with a play. To be fair, the Ravens call a timeout, so they have more than that. But I think the problem with Harbaugh specifically, and I don't know if this happens with you guys in Pittsburgh, Tony, is Harbaugh was a special teams coach. And what I love about Harbaugh is because he was a special teams coach, he is more of a manager of team, which is what I think a head coach should always be. I manage the team, I manage the defense, the offense, but I don't call plays. I just tell them, hey, I would like for them to run. I would like for them to do X, Y, or Z. We're going for 2, right? He managed the game situation, but he lets the OC, he lets the DC dictate the play. What Ravens fans want, they want not a sexy DC because we always had good defensive coordinator. They want that McVay guy, which Baltimore has never had. That guy that can call all the plays that historically in the NFL hasn't really paid out as levels of being great coaches sometimes. But that's what Ravens fans want. And Harbaugh's not that guy. Harbaugh is this quirky guy. I manage my team. I'm a leader, man. But if you're the OC, your job is design the play call the play. I want to pass or whatever. So you decide the play call, right? I think what they want is this Andy Reid type of guy. They're like, oh no, I'm calling the play. This is the play. And that's why Baltimore Ravens fans sometimes just knock Harbaugh because he doesn't call any offensive or defensive play. I think it's overrated. I like that my coach is more of a manager.
Yeah, nothing for the Steelers, it's to a football fan than the coach that they don't have, right? Like it's always, it's always somebody else's coach that they want.
Yeah.
And I mean, by the way, Steeler fans, I mean, pay attention to this, right? Because Steeler fans feel like, especially that I mean, you have this kind of this vocal anti-Tomlin crowd, and then you have like the pro-Tomlin crowd who feels like, you know, the Steelers are the only fan base that want their coach fired. Like this happens in a lot of fan bases, and I think it's specifically for the Steelers. The reason why it happens so often is because Steelers we are the most spoiled fan base. Okay, when we talk about the fact that, you know, the Steelers have not had a losing season since 2003. I mean, yeah, I understand why.
Tony.
I understand why they want to fire Tomlin every other year, because anytime there's any sort of adversity, I mean, you want to talk about a fan base that has no idea how to deal with adversity. You know, Steeler fans look at themselves in the mirror here, right? You know, the Steelers start 0-3, and everyone's like, fire Tomlin, get him off. Get this guy. I can't.
Harbaugh has one losing season the year that Flacco was injured, and then they start Mallet and the kid from Notre Dame. That's the one year he has as a losing season. Other than that, his worst records are 8-8.
Yeah. And Tomlin has no losing seasons, and there are a lot of Steeler fans out there who would love to see Mike Tomlin fired. But you know, it's always and like we said, it's the grass is greener type thing. It's always there's always some other coach who could make things even better. We can get a guy even better than Mike
always
Tomlin.
Greener. By
the way, Chiefs fans wanted Andy Reid fired at what point of this year? It's always the coach, right? We always got to fire the coach. Right. Kevin Stefanski, Zach Taylor, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh. Got to fire the coach, baby.
It's always gonna come up. Nova Stone 12 for $2 says, Ace, would you want to do the same for Burrow and not pay him? Just depends on the situation. I think that the Huntley situation is completely a unique one. Like, we'd have to be in that situation. And like I said, I consider it. That doesn't mean that I do it, but I think that I would consider it. Another one here from Ray Rags 14 for $5. As a Browns fan, I hope the Ravens are dumb enough to trade Lamar and keep Huntley. Please trade a former MVP because of backup QB and cap space.
I would be all for that. You know, if you want to trade Lamar Jackson to like the Atlanta Falcons to do them a favor or something like that, I would be all for that. But it's probably going to be Huntley that you trade, right? Like that's the one that you do. Or, you know, Harbaugh's probably going to keep them both because he's like, I need that insurance on the backup.
Yeah, keep them both. No, I mean, you should keep them both. Harbaugh should keep them both right now.
Definitely.
Unless you're actually going to get a first or something, which you're not going to get a first.
If you get like a 2 for Tyler Huntley, somebody offers you a 2.
Second or
a high second. Somebody could do that.
I would wait.
A 2? I would take a 2.
It's not if Lamar had an ACL,
you need linemen.
Like that, then you're like, okay, I get it. But Lamar has sprain, right? So he's been hurt all year, but they're nagging injuries, nothing like
nothing
an
catastrophic,
ACL or whatever.
nothing like RG3 after his rookie year, nothing like that.
So I second our first.
How desperate teams get during the draft.
They will get. I think he could go for a second. I think Huntley could go for a second based off of the draft, and we'd have to see how free agency plans out. Like the Texans, I could see them being like, "Yeah, let's take a chance with Huntley."
Oh yeah, the Texans would definitely. The Texans would do something really dumb like that. Like wait till March. Wait till March. When March hits, and then they don't nobody get because everybody thinks they're gonna get Aaron Rodgers right now, right? Because like that's what everybody.
No, and the Steelers are gonna get Aaron Rodgers, but
okay, we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. But everybody thinks they're gonna get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, right? That's or they're gonna make a trade for Watson or something like that. Well, wait until those avenues dry up. And then it's 10 dudes at the club, and there's 3 girls to take home, right? Like all of a sudden, Tyler Huntley's gonna look worth a second-round pick to somebody, and somebody gonna pull the trigger on that. And I would.
I would say this.
I would trade him if I were the Ravens if he got to
Huntley. If you have, let's say you need a quarterback, and you're sitting in the pick 18 or 19, trading for Tyler Huntley, you have him for 2 years on less than $1 million, right? So his cap hit is nothing. It's literally the same as drafting a quarterback. If the quarterback, let's say Huntley doesn't pay out, a la Danny Jones, right? You just cut him in 2 years. You didn't have a big cap hit. You didn't have nothing. Right now, Daniel Jones is bigger of a cap hit than whatever Huntley will be if you trade for him.
I know.
Okay, we got to put a bow on the Huntley now because this is gonna.
By the way,
this
Carolina Panthers are gonna do it. The Carolina Panthers are gonna trade for Huntley. They're gonna fire their coach because he's awful, and then they're gonna be like, "We're gonna bring in a new era." Tyler Huntley.
Fire him already? I don't know if they're
gonna fire him. Era is
about a 7-year deal. That coach has 7-year deal.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna fire him.
That guy's not staying long.
Matt Rule.
They already hate him. They already hate him.
Well, the fans hate him, but I think the owner likes him. The owner is new. So.
7 years. You have to pay him too much money.
7-year deal that you could write coaches' deals on paper. Like it does not mean anything. Like it.
Yeah,
you will get fired, dog. Like
Urban Meyer just got fired.
There's no salary cap for coaches. It's just a check the owner has to
you might not have to pay him all of that money.
Bro, we still paying Hugh Jackson money. Like it does not matter.
Got another super chat here from Abdul Sadiq for $4.99. Bengals fans, are you legit basing the Ravens' future with Lamar off of one blowout win you gave us? Simmer down, kittens. Lamar is 4-1 against y'all. Nah, I'm a Lamar fan. Like I've liked Lamar since before he was a Raven. It was not based off of that whatsoever. Trey Ball with a $4.99 super chat here says, for everyone, which team has the best chance to win out? If your team makes the playoffs, do you see them winning given how they are playing right now?
I think the Bengals have the best chance of winning out because they play the Chiefs in week 18, and the Chiefs may not be playing for anything at that point because they may have everything wrapped up.
No, they play in week 17.
We play the Browns in week 18.
They don't play them in week 18.
No, the Chiefs are playing for a bye.
That division race is tighter than it.
They're playing for a bye. Nope. I think
I thought it was week 18.
I actually, if you say, Sonny, will you bet? I will bet none of these teams go and win all. But somebody will be 2 or 3, right? 1 or 2 teams might be 2 or 3, and again, 10 wins. That's why I said 10 wins will win the division.
9-7-1. Yeah, 9-7.
Everybody has a chance. It's just who is it going to be?
9.5 rounds up to 10, Sonny. Okay, 9.5 rounds up to 10. So I'm right there with you.
Another one from Nova Stone for $2. Ace's experience of paying a quarterback is Andy Dalton. We also paid Carson Palmer, who I also at the end of his career, before he even retired, wanted to get him out of there because his contract that was top 5 in the league when he was throwing 20 and 30 interceptions was not working for me at all. So I do have more experience than just paying Andy Dalton. I remember one of the first $100 million quarterbacks in the league, believe it or not, was Carson Palmer. The next one is Nova Stone. Go ahead, Quincy. You were going to say something?
Well, to the Aces' defense, his argument does apply for most quarterbacks. Like 90% of quarterbacks, his argument is absolutely 100% valid. Like, but it's just there is a
Lamar
10%
Jackson. There's a Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes, and those are the guys that are definitely the exception for sure. TJ dove into Stanley's leg, and Stanley was never an All-Pro again. I guess that's what he was referring to earlier, but I'm going to pause on the super chats. Let's go ahead and get into the Steelers versus the Titans.
Before you go there, I'm triggering here, so I apologize, guys, because I took my booster today, and I've been, that's why you see me, So the guys here will go and finish the show out. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for everybody that's been here. Make sure you like the video. Thank you guys. Go do your thing.
Rest up, Sonny.
Appreciate that, Sonny. Rest up, bro. So we're gonna get everybody here on the screen real quick. Can we go this way? That should work.
That'll work.
Let's go ahead and talk about the Steelers versus Titans game, and let's lead off with Tony.
Yeah, what a difference 10 days makes for the Steelers. My goodness, because 10 days ago we were talking about that disaster that was the Vikings game. Well, the first half disaster that was the Vikings game. Then it became kind of cute in the second half as they attempted that comeback. But it did feel like after that game that, we were done talking about any chance of this Steeler team getting in the playoffs or, winning this division at all. Now, 10 days later, here we are, and they're a half game back. What do we call them? The scrappy Steelers or resilient Steelers, second half Steelers, whatever.
Scrappy Steelers.
Listen, how about let's put it in a Mike Tomlinism, okay? How about the throw style points out the window Steelers, okay? That's really, this team just plays ugly football. But my goodness, did they find a way to win? And this particular game against the Titans was kind of a throwback to their 2019 season when they really had no offense. There's Mason and Duck and all that, and that defense was so dominant. Now, this was not a dominant performance defensively, but they did get 4 turnovers, and those 4 turnovers were obviously huge in the outcome of this game. And the run defense for the Steelers is still a massive, massive issue. It was funny to listen to Mike Tomlin in his press conference today talk about how he said that, they're getting better in their run defense week over week, which is true because they gave up only 200 yards this week on the ground as opposed to the 240 they gave up to Dalvin Cook and the Vikings. So, small bits of improvement there, only giving up 200 yards of rushing.
And they spread it out within 4 quarters.
Yeah.
It's a 6-quarter improvement, Tony. If you look at the 6-quarter split.
That's right. But, and I thought, and he's right. He talks about how key Minka was in run defense, but then, there's a give and take there, right? Which is okay. Minka now leads the team in tackles. He led the team in tackles in this game. He had 14 tackles. I think Edmonds had 10, 24 tackles between your 2 safeties, which is good because, your guys are coming up and contributing in run support. But what does that say about your front 7, okay, when your 2 safeties are having to consistently make open field tackles? That's what happened time after time. I thought Minka did a very good job because he's not been a great tackler in his career. He had led the team in missed tackle percentage early in the year, and that's come down a bit. But when your free safety's having to go out there and make all the plays in run defense, you got some problems up front. This team clearly is going to have to address that. Not going to address it now. Stephon Tuitt's not walking through that door. I know Steeler fans keep thinking like, well, when Tuitt gets healthy, like it's week 16, guys. He's not going to be healthy this year. Not coming back. So, they're going to have to address that in the offseason. Spillane, by the way, I said on last week's video, like who would get benched between Bush and Schobert. It ended up, they just did a rotation. So instead of benching one guy in particular, they just benched them both in kind of a rotation of like putting Spillane in timeout. Not that it made a huge difference. I thought the key drive in this game, though, and when you kind of knew the Steelers when I knew the Steelers were going to win this game, was that long drive the Titans had at the end of the first half. That 19 plays, 64 yards. They ran 10 minutes off the clock and managed just a field goal. And that is exactly how the Steelers win football games, that, they get their ass kicked and for whatever it is, a half, 3 quarters. But as long as they're still in it, as long as there's that glimmer of hope, they'll come through. And they certainly did in the second half. The offense was putrid in this game. Absolutely terrible. I can't say it was their worst offensive performance because they didn't turn the ball over. And they've had very bad. Obviously the 2 performances against Cincinnati were as bad as you could be offensively. So credit to Cincinnati for that. But this was an awful game for them offensively. They had 4 turnovers. They managed just 12 points, 4 field goals on 4 turnovers. And the majority of those were already in scoring range for this offense. So 168 total yards of offense. Najee Harris had his worst game of the year, the offensive line. Trey Turner, who had been all year, not a great player, not a terrible player, but exactly what the Steelers signed him. Just be a solid veteran, a guy who we never hear about. And that's exactly the kind of offensive lineman they wanted him to be. Boy, was he not that. You would have thought this kid was Kendrick Green, the rookie, who's getting slaughtered out there play after play. I thought he was bad. The offense was just, and the other thing about this is teams, I think, are starting to figure out now. Claypool got benched in this game. He's kind of becoming a non-factor in this offense. Teams are figuring out this is a one-trick pony in the passing game. It's Deontay Johnson, and it's a whole lot of nothing behind him. I mean, Ray McLeod, James Washington, Frymouth went out with a concussion in this game. Once the Titans figured out, let's just take Deontay out and see what else they got. The Steelers didn't have a whole lot left, but what they Steelers still do have is a ton of playmakers defensively, and they made that work. Whether it was T.J. Watt making plays down the stretch, Cam Hayward had a couple big plays, including the fumble recovery on Tannehill's botched snap. And then how about Joe Hayden at the end? Joe Hayden on a pitch count in this game because he's just coming back from a Liz Frank injury to his foot and makes the biggest tackle of his season. This is a guy who's barely even played this year and played in a month and a half already. And he makes the tackle of the season for the Steelers, stopping whatever, I forget the wide receiver's name, but stopping him a yard short of the first down there and saving this win for the Steelers. Look, this was not a good game for the Steelers. We started the show by saying, like, where do you rank the Steelers? Are they the worst team in the division? I mean, what's fun, again, what I keep coming back to with this team is it's funny to think that this might actually be the worst team in the division, and they have a legitimate chance now to win the division down the stretch if they can continue to play football like this. And I understand it's not good football, but if they come out with more points in the opposition at the end, I'll take it, especially in a season like this where they have so many deficiencies talent-wise. This was another fun one for Steeler fans.
For sure. Q, wanted to get your takes on this game.
Yeah, the AFC North is just the NFC East with better floorboards. Instead of everybody being 500, everybody under 500, everybody's over 500, but it's still the same. You know what I mean? It's an interesting experience. Now, the Steeler Titans game, again, I know better than to watch the first 3 quarters of Pittsburgh Steeler games. I don't even count them in.
It sets a tone, Q. It sets a tone for what you're about to watch in the second half.
Every week we talk about, man, the Steelers are in trouble because of what they did in the first 3 quarters of every single game they play.
Right.
And it ends up not mattering because in the fourth quarter they come back and they almost win the game, or they come this close to winning the game. So this is just who the Steelers are at this point, right? You have to believe that. Look, Ben is limited with what he has left to give. He does not have full games left. This man has individual quarters in which he can offer you for the rest of the year. He probably got 3-4 quarters left in his pocket, so he's going to save those quarters till the fourth. And this is what Ben did. He saved those quarters to the fourth, played his best football at that point. This Steelers offense is nowhere near good. It's not good at all. It's really not. But it's enough at certain points, right? Which is more than I can say about other teams. And the Titans, man, they kind of stink.
Well, they're
the Titans, man.
They just imploded down the stretch. I mean, look, I know that Steeler fans want me to go in here and rah for the Steelers, but you can't
straight turnovers in a row.
Yeah.
Those turnovers were insane.
And they kept going to Ryan Tannehill. And whenever they needed to play, they kept going to Ryan Tannehill.
The botch snap is just
putting the game in Ryan Tannehill's hands is nuts.
It's nuts. The ball refused to get in his hands to put in his game. It was so bad at the end of this. They only put up 13 points in the first half, and you would think, man, it's not that great of a half. And in the second half, they put up a goose egg in the most embarrassing fashion I have ever seen a team just not put up points. And I'm a Browns fan who has seen a lot of goose eggs in the second half, and it's never been like that, especially for a team that calls themselves a contender. They're 9-5, and they're playing this bad. So yeah, I think it is luck, right? The Steelers played better football the second the Titans decided to play the worst football possible, and they were able to get some lucky breaks off of that, more than a few turnovers because of it.
But certainly the botch snap. I mean,
there was some lucky breaks there, but you have to get those lucky breaks and then execute off of those lucky breaks. They did enough to get at least field goals in that. So, it's a good win for Pittsburgh. Look, this is why I tell Browns fans, and this is what Browns fans have to come to reality with, is the thing that Steelers fans have accepted. When you have a bad offense, you have to win like this. You have to take advantage of all these opportunities. You have to squeeze out as little offense as you can get, and you have to hold on tight, hoping that the other team's going to mess up in order for you to win. And that's what happens, Yeah.
No,
so that's Steelers won. And look, I know Tony's down on the Steelers. I think every team here other than Bengal fans, I think Bengal fans can legitimately feel like if they win this division, they earned it, because they definitely did, right? Because they have exceeded expectations. They are better than anybody thought they were. Even if they don't win a division, they have that, right? Like they can't go feeling bad about this season. But every other team, if the Browns, Steelers, or Ravens win this division, it's gonna feel like highway robbery. It's gonna be like, wow, dog, we won it still. Like, there's nobody who's gonna feel like, yeah, man, we were just the best team in the North that year. It was just, it's gonna be tiebreakers, man. Glad that worked out for us. But
how about that tie to the Lions? That might be a key.
Look, the ball has to bounce the right way.
Ties are better than losses, as the AFC North is about to find out.
The rest of this division is not winning this division based off skill. We gonna need luck, but and luck went in the Steelers' way this week. We'll see what happens next week. But I can't judge the Steelers off of what they've done in the first 3 quarters of this year, because it's not been applicable to what they have done at the end of these games at all.
No, that is facts. And Tony, I am sorry for disrespecting you. Let me bring you up, since you were in the winner's circle.
Second place
this week.
Third place in division.
As far as this game, I think if you were to just look at the box score, you would be confused as hell on how the Steelers won this game, right? Until you get to, like my co-hosts have talked about, the turnover margin. If you needed further proof that winning the turnover battle leads to you winning the game, look no further more than this matchup here. But congrats to Pittsburgh. This was a huge win for them to get. It doesn't matter how ugly it is. A win is a win. And with them being in range to take the North this year, based off of what we saw a few weeks ago, I think that you have to tip your hat to them, that they were able to scrap out this win against a Titans team that at one point was the number 1 seed in the AFC. So very impressive for them there. I'm going to get into a few super chats, and then we'll get into some of the other games. I think we'll go with the Bengals game next, and then we'll go with the Browns game, and then we'll get into some of the previews, starting with the Browns at the Packers. So Chasse Brown gives a $5 super chat there, says Hollywood was wide open on the last play. I love the call. I'm assuming that he's talking about that play,
the 2
where
point.
They went for 2.
Yeah.
So that sounds good there. Got another one here from Ray Rags, 14 for $5. Remember that the Seahawks gave Matt Flynn 3 years, $26 million and $10 million guaranteed off of 1 game. Yes, I do remember that. And I also remember Russell Wilson coming through in that preseason and taking that man's job.
Yeah, I remember it was a big controversy. Should they start Russell Wilson?
Should they start Russell Wilson?
Matt Flynn.
Yeah.
People were hot about that. How can you bench Matt Flynn? You just signed him. Pete Carroll made the right decision, I think. Right?
Yes, definitely. I don't even know where Matt Flynn is. He's probably watching this right now.
I don't know. He's living good. He got paid, baby. He got that whole contract. He sat there for 3 years and was like, yeah, man, Russ, get him. Get him, Russ. He never had to play during those 3 years, I don't think. He legitimately just got the free ride.
I'll take that, Tim.
Matt Flynn, that's how you want to live your NFL career. No hits. You played 1 game for real, and then you get that NFL money. Shout out to Matt Flynn. That's somebody who's doing it right.
Facts. Got another one here from Crow Snap, 1 for $2. Is halfback Jackson playing this week? I'm actually going to do a AFC North injury report update actually before we get into the preview. So I will give you guys the updates on all of the players around the North. Trib, 1 for $5. Trib, good to see you, bro. Hundley is a starter in this league. Ben said it. By the way, the Steelers didn't win. The Titans lost that game. Shout out to the knee-biting Lions for sure. Got another one here from Nova Stone for $2. Who is better right now, Patrick Queen or Devin Bush? Since Sonny isn't here, I'll let Tony answer this one.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's Patrick Queen right now. I mean, right, it's not even close. It's Patrick Queen. Devin Bush is barely a starting caliber inside linebacker at this point. And, and then look, and I'll give him credit. I think he's played better-ish in the past couple weeks, but it doesn't make up for as bad as he's been all year. I understand the ACL is a big concern, and we'll see what the Steelers end up doing with him in the offseason and whether or not he keeps his job or he has to earn it in training camp next year. But it's Patrick Queen at this point.
Devin Bush, Patrick Queen,
Okay. All right.
Logan Wilson, I might put over. I don't know. Logan Wilson might be.
Logan Wilson is. He's good too.
The Trib for $2 says, "Oh yeah, my Raiders won, but Browns deserved it." I never knew Trib was a Raiders fan.
I think he's both. I think he's a Raiders and Ravens fan. It might have been like before Baltimore had a team.
Gotcha.
With the Raiders.
Yeah.
So give me a lot of those.
Gotcha. So with that being said, we'll get on to this Bengals versus Broncos game. This one for me, I think that there were still some concerns, especially from the Bengals offense that you saw in this game early on, right? They still were a team that couldn't really put up the points that you'd like to see them put up in the first half, given the opportunities that the defense set up for them. You also had a Broncos running offense that was kind of similar, right? Like not really doing too much with any of the opportunities that they were given as well. So this game kind of started out pretty boring. It really wasn't much of any scoring there. The Bengals, I think, did a great job. And one guy that I want to talk about really in this game, because it kind of ended up being a defensive game, was DJ Reader. The way that he was able to have his impact felt on this game just from a run-stopping presence, which he's really done a lot this season. But nose tackles just really don't get the shine just because of what they're tasked to do within defenses, but really made a huge difference in this game, especially limiting Melvin Gordon as well as Javonte Williams on that ground for them. And then when you talk about Trey Hendrickson, this guy is just playing out of his mind from week to week, as we have seen him this season, now with his 10th straight sack in 10 games, which is insane. But the one thing that everyone was really talking about here in this game is, Tyler Boyd, Joe Burrow, what they did in that second half, and the decision at the end of the game where Zach Taylor makes the decision once again to not go forward on the 3rd and 8, kind of goes with the conservative play call with a run there. Some Bengals fans were up in arms about it. I'm not going to sit here and be up in arms about a win. I mean, I feel like he kind of felt at a point when Teddy Bridgewater goes out the game and you bring in Drew Lock. I think that he just pretty much thought the way that this defense was playing, that they were going to be able to get to Drew Lock, and he trusted his defense. I'm not opposed to that, but I do get people saying, hey, 3rd and 8, with that situation where if you get a first down, the game is essentially over. Instead of kicking it back to the Broncos, I can't believe that Bengals fans are here arguing in December over a win. It just doesn't make sense to me. I had no issues with the game other than the Bengals offense has got to score more points than they have done recently, especially starting off these games, because when you go to play Kansas City, even when you play the Baltimore Ravens this week, this is not a situation that you can show up with and not put up points in bunches and not, come out here and getting off to these slow starts. That's just not something that you can do. That was my only issue with this game. Eli Apple, I got to give him a lot of credit here. With Cheeto being out of this game, he definitely stepped up in this game and did his thing. Held Jared Jeudy to no catches in this game. That was very impressive. Cortland Sutton, he's on my fantasy team. He was Cortland Sutton. He showed up in true Cortland Sutton fashion. They were able to do some things with Tim Patrick and the tight ends late in that game. But I think overall, you went out there on the road, got a solid win. I mean, you should feel good about yourself, but you have to feel concerned about the slow starts in these games. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and shoot that over to Quincy.
Yeah, this was an interesting game here. Now, I tried to catch like half of this game here. I don't know much about what the Bengals defense was able to do because I'm sorry, I've watched enough bad offense. I'm not going to tune myself in voluntarily to watch the Denver Broncos play offense. But yeah, it was one of those kind of like sloppy grinded out games there for Cincinnati. And at this point of the year, you're just going to have games like that, whether you're a good team or not. I've seen plenty of good teams come in and play the Browns when the Browns are terrible and like have those slug it out. The game's closer than it looks. Well, the game's not as close as it might appear on the scoreboard type situations there. The most important thing when you get in those games, especially on the road, is that you win. And, the Bengals did not let this one trip them up. And that's the best takeaway you can have from it, right? The real test and not the test, but the real, when you're going to need your best performances out the Bengals when they play Baltimore, when they play Cleveland at the end of the year, when they play Kansas City, right? But other than that, when you're just playing the Broncos, you're just kind of just trying to get out there with the win any way possible, and they were able to do that.
Tony, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I come away from this game actually pretty impressed with the Bengals. I think this started, I talked about after the Niners game, I came away from that kind of just impressed by the way that they kind of fought, the fight from Burrow. I mean, obviously at the end of the game against the Niners, their defense was gassed, and that's ultimately why they lost the game. But by the end, right, they had come back, they had put themselves with a chance to win that game, and then they scored in overtime, and the Niners scored the end. I thought, look, December football, playoff football, this is what it's like. It's, it gets down to the wire. Fourth quarter football. It's a game of these moments in the game that are kind of make it and break the game for you. I thought, this is a Bengals team that was coming off of back-to-back losses. And there were the Broncos right there at the end. I thought the biggest play of this game was that the Kareem fumble, the strip sack,
the
which
fumble
was
interception, whatever that was.
I mean, just an unbelievable play. I mean, first of all, just stole the ball from the quarterback. It made even funnier by the fact that he ends up fumbling later on in the play, but that he's actually down earlier. But just an out and out hilarious play from start to finish. But no, I think that this is the kind of game that the Bengals need to prove that they can win. Go on the road. Not that the Broncos are a great team, but they've been playing well. They put themselves back into the playoff race. The Bengals, certainly want they want to be in that race as well, and they were and are. And I think winning this game certainly kind of cements them now as like, no, this is a team you have to reckon with down the stretch, right? That loss to the Niners, while it was a loss on the scoreboard, it wasn't so much a loss on the field as they proved they're going to go toe to toe, and they can. And down the stretch in that game, they were making just as many plays as the Niners were, and here they were in this game against the Broncos making more plays than the Broncos were down the stretch. One other thing I want to just say about this game is prayers to Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, the injury once again for him. I mean, this guy's obviously just snake bit when it comes to injury, and that looked as scary as any. On Sunday. Glad to hear he's just in the concussion protocol and nothing more serious than that, because that hit did look very, very bad. So yeah, but anyway, but regardless, very good win for the Bengals here. Again, just kind of proving their mettle in when it comes to this playoff run.
Definitely. Well, we're going to get into the Browns and Raiders matchup, but before we do that, got a few super chats to just run through real quick. So Trib said that he was born a Raiders fan, but Ray Lewis was my favorite player. And during that time, the Raiders were hot garbage, so I hopped on the wagon. The Jamarcus Russell era, I'm assuming.
During that time,
Gavin,
there's a lot of time between the first John Gruden era and then I don't know what you would call now, but
post John Gruden era, I guess now. Gavin Hawk for $6.99 says he can't wait for Aaron Rodgers to come to the Steel City. Maybe Devontae Adams will join him too. You have anything to say to that, Tony?
I mean, so heartbroken.
I like the first part. The second part maybe it makes it a little harder, but hey, you know what? I love it. I love it.
That's a lot of money.
What's going to happen to Steeler fans when Mason Rudolph trots out there day one?
Listen, if Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert decide that in 2022 the best decision at quarterback is Mason Rudolph,
No. The best decision is going to be we're going to have a competition for the quarterback position, and it's going to be between Dwayne Haskins and Mason Rudolph, and the winner gets to wear number 12. And that's what they.
Let's bring Duck back in that case. What's Duck?
Three-way competition. Make preseason interesting.
Give me Duck.
You know what I mean?
Give me Duck back in that case.
This is going to be an intriguing offseason topic for sure.
For the Steelers?
Preseason's gonna be interesting, man. We're gonna be looking at quarterback competition for a couple of teams.
So we got another one here from the Trib. He says, "Why would Aaron leave? Also, I'm tired of us being ultra aggressive on fourth down and the 2-point conversion plays. We are struggling with that. Trust and tuck." I mean, I think Aaron Rodgers has made it pretty clear that he is leaving Green Bay. So that's definitely a reason, I think. What do you think, Quincy?
Wouldn't there be nobody in the NFL that could also more violently change their mind than Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out that he could. That he could just randomly say, like, "Actually, I'm staying."
He could.
He changes his mind a lot. You know what I mean? So I know he felt one way, but Aaron Rodgers, he was probably feeling some type of way about that whole contract situation, Jordan Love. But now, Green Bay's like, look, man, we're going to get rid of Jordan Love next year. We don't want him. Come stay, Aaron. And then he might be like, well, I do have all my stuff here. And having all your stuff here is a bigger selling point than people realize, right? Because I'm renewing my lease. I don't want to move my stuff again. I got stuff open into the walls and shit.
That's true. We got a last one here from Offstream MLG for $4.99. Q said McPherson wasn't an ace kicker. Get that out of here. He's a rookie. He'll fix those misses that he's had and be our franchise kicker. Houday.
Is he Justin Tucker right now?
Here
He's
we
not.
go.
I never agreed
stop,
with the
stop
Justin
trying to
Tucker.
stop giving a victory lap. He's not Justin Tucker. When he's Justin Tucker, get the victory lap going. All right, but until he's Justin Tucker, don't come. See, you do the same thing, Browns fans.
Second level
Good kicker. It's kind of like the Lamar and Pat Mahomes thing, where it's like Justin Tucker is that to kicker. So it's
yeah. Justin Tucker is irrelevant to the conversation that we have about kickers on this channel. Or Chris Boswell. I'll throw Chris Boswell up there. He hasn't missed in a while.
He just missed on Sunday, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but it was a long one. It was a 56 to 57, something like that.
Yeah. Chris Boswell don't miss field goals you think he should make.
No,
right?
That is true.
He's
that
not Justin Tucker where Justin Tucker will make them. Yeah, he's the second tier where it's like he'll make he's the Phil Dawson, Vinatieri tier where it's like he's gonna make every single reasonable field goal you ask him to make. Justin Tucker just make every unreasonable field goal.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's why it's ridiculous.
Got another one here from Luke Walker, 199. Battle will be Haskins, Rudolph, and Trubisky.
That is the most accurate one.
It's not even a battle, baby. This is Trubisky's spot right there. You know what I mean?
I think that no memes here. That is a legitimate possibility that Mitch Trubisky is a Steelers quarterback next year.
I'm terrified.
He checks every box. When you hear Mike Tomlin talk about, during the bye week, I spent all this time talking about, how much mobile quarterbacks have modernized the NFL and how hard it is to defend them or whatever. And, his new obsession with having to have a mobile quarterback. And Mitch Trubisky checks every single box that Mike Tomlin wants. Veteran, mobile. He absolutely could be the Steelers quarterback next year.
Definitely, for sure. With that being said, Q, let's get into this Brown and Raiders game. What were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think people kind of expected me to be mad about this one. I don't know. I just don't have it in me to be upset about it. I think from a defensive standpoint, you got pretty much everything you wanted to out of this game, right? Like you wanted the 2 turnovers. You wanted to force some mistakes. You were able to do that. I felt defensively they played well. We could talk about on that last drive, did they not play well enough? Sure. We can always make that argument. And then offensively, I felt like they gave you everything you should have expected out this offense. I felt like you couldn't ask Nick Mullins to do more than what he did there. Like that 4th and 5 play that he made on the goal line. Dude, good on him, man. I thought the game was over. I was like, go for it. You might as well go for it because why not, right? But he went there, made a play, stayed calm. I mean, he made the biggest play through the air that anybody has made this year, and he's Nick Mullins. So I can't ask more. I think people are wanting to squeeze more juice out of a lemon that ain't got more juice to squeeze out of. Offensively and defensively, given that this team was lost like 11 starters on both sides of the ball, I felt like they gave you everything that they should have, right? I thought that the offense should at least get 17. Well, not at least. I felt like the offense, if they got 17 points going into this game, you would be in a good position to win. Unfortunately, you had the 2 touchdown drives, but you did not get the field goal before half that you were in position to get, right? It was a 45-yard field goal or 47-yard field goal that was smoked by Chase McLaughlin. By the way, he's missed 6 out of his last 10. I know y'all want to defend him. He got to go. He got to go at this point, right? Like any team would get rid of him. He's got to go. Now, I understand they got the COVID thing going on, so they might not feel comfortable getting rid of players because they don't know who to bring in. But yeah, at some point when you feel comfortable, he got to go. He can't be back next year. But yeah, when you look at what the offense and defense were able to give you, this game comes down to a kicker, unfortunately. But I find no reason to be upset at the defense. I know some people are mad at the conservative play calling that they thought Alex Van Pelt wasn't going to give him when Alex Van Pelt has done this before when he called the game versus the Steelers in the wild card. The same exact game he called, did the same exact stuff. People thought he was going to open up the playbook with Nick Mullins in there. Nah, man. Like, I don't know how much more aggressive you can get with your third string quarterback in there. Nick Chubb, who ran the ball well in the second half, just didn't run the ball well at all in the first half. Like, it wasn't a matter of them not running the ball enough. This was Nick Chubb, every time he ran the ball, lost 2 yards or a yard at the beginning of the game or barely gained anything and was a part of the 3 and outs that we were going. This defense withstood almost a whole half of 3 and outs and held the Raiders within 10 points. That is extremely difficult when you're getting back on the field with virtually no rest for an entire half of football, and you're shorthanded. You got MJ Stewart out there, Javonte Moffitt's out there playing. You're 4 deep. You're on your 4th string safety. You know what I mean? And then Myles Garrett gets hurt. You lose Takk McKinley in the middle of this game. How can I be upset at the effort that the defensive side of the ball gave and the offensive side of the ball gave because the kicker missed the kick, right? Like, that's ultimately what this came down to. You missed the field goal. You missed an opportunity for points. And the Raiders, for as okay as they played, they didn't make any of those big mistakes, right? No big penalty down the stretch to extend a drive that shouldn't have been for the Cleveland Browns, right? I think that's the run of luck that the Browns needed to win this game. The Raiders didn't give it to you, right? You needed probably that penalty or a unforced error by Las Vegas in order to win that game. You just didn't get it. Came down to kickers. They have a better kicker, and they won the game. You know, yeah, it sucks for the playoff positioning, but it's not all lost hope. Like, the Browns can still win the division. Now, it depends on them beating Green Bay. Look, my confidence isn't high that that's going to happen. But, you know, outside of that, like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's the same odds that I felt like this team has had, which is middling odds to win the division. So, that being said, I'm not really upset with this team. I find it hard to be upset with this team. I know a lot of people have gotten like on their hot take machine for the Browns and cooked up some takes about Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield who weren't even in the building last night. Like, yeah, people just out here wanting to point a finger at somebody. I'm not the biggest Alex Van Pelt fan, but I felt like he did a fine enough job given what his circumstances were. I know people are going to complain about the play calling being conservative, but what other options did they have? Honestly, right. Like, you're gonna run, you know, empty and go exotic with Nick Mullins. And we saw Nick Mullins throw the ball, man. That thing ain't going more than 15 yards without getting intercepted. Like, it was scary to throw the ball down the field. He has a worse arm than Case Keenum, which I did not know going into this game. But yeah, it's unfortunate you lost it. You know, I would have loved for the defense to make one last stand there and keep that field goal from coming on. But at the end of the day, I can't be too upset with the effort that both sides of the ball came out there, given the circumstances, given the fact that they've only practiced one time with the people who are going to play, and even half of those people weren't practicing then because they were in protocol. How can I be upset with how they played there? Honestly, this is the proudest I have felt of the Browns probably since the Cincinnati game, because this is the best I felt like they've played. This is the best I felt like they have responded in a very long time, right? That team, when you saw them out there, whether you thought they looked good or not, you felt like that was a team that had heart, that fought. I cannot say that for a lot of performances this year, right? That New England game looked like they had nothing, no soul, no fight, no will to win in that game, right? We talk about the Bengals and the Steelers and the Ravens and their proclivity to come back into these games. The Cleveland Browns have not shown that will, and that was something that they showed last night. And I hope that's the start of a new trend. Look, I don't know if the Browns are going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to win the division. I'm not very confident in that. But if I can see a Browns team that looks like they have fight, that makes me happy and proud to watch them for the last 3 weeks, I'll take that at this point, because it's been drastically different than what I've seen for the entire season. And I know the expectations started at Super Bowl, and they're in the bowl right now for Cleveland Browns fans. Like, I get it. You know what I mean? It's a drastic dip, but that's expectations change over the course of more information. And the information that's given me for this team is, you know, I'll just be happy if they fight hard at the end of this season, look like a respectable team, because that's what I've been worried about the most, is that this team just didn't look like they were fighting for anything. And this week they did.
Right. So I will donate my time to Q. I think he did a great job of breaking that game down. Tony, was there anything that you wanted to touch on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Q hit everything there. I mean, the reason why, you know, you kind of coming out of this one, it's like, look, what more can you want? Is because everything, if to win this game, the Browns need to keep this game in the teens. You know, it's got to be, it's going to be a low scoring game, so your defense has to step up. You got to force them. You can't make any big mistakes offensively. They didn't turn the ball over, and you got to get some turnovers defensively. They did that, and you got to make some plays down the stretch, and they did that with the Nullins, not only with Mullins' touchdown, but also Greedy Williams' interception there at the end. So to have all of that, you had all of that happen, and you still lost the game. I think that's, you know, for Browns fans, why you feel like, you know, what else could have been done here to even try to, you know, to win this game. And you obviously need one more play defensively, but, you know, it's like the old, what's the guy's name in Oklahoma State, you know? You did it. Don't blame him when they did everything right. That guy.
Oh yeah. I'm a man on 40.
Yeah. 40. Put it on me. Got another super chat here from Ray
Put
Ray.
in your story.
$2. It says Baker is the reason he missed all those kicks. Oh my goodness. Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
this is eventually a meme, right? Where people it's RG3 had the best version of this meme where he was talking about how people just blamed him for stuff, and they were like, RG3, if you were in the XFL, you could choose what goes on the back of your jersey. What would you say? And he said, I would put "he blame me" on there.
Facts. So I'm going to go through some injury updates just around the AFC North before we get into these previews and wrap up. If you have been watching, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. This show has gone on a little longer because we're actually combining both shows. So we did the reviews. We're going to do the previews. We're going to go and touch on the injury updates. So for the Ravens, Pernell McPhee was actually designated to return from IR. Justin Houston was actually placed on the COVID list. Lamar Jackson, looks like Harbaugh said on Monday he's hopeful LJ will be able to practice Wednesday. So he is probably questionable, will likely probably play. Patrick Ricard is out. Patrick McQuarrie is out. Ben Powers is out. Calais Campbell is out. For the Bengals, Khalid Kareem is in concussion protocol. He is questionable for the matchup against the Ravens. Hakeem Adeniji sprained his ankle. He is listed as questionable. Joe Bacci tore his ACL. He is one of the linebackers for the Bengals. He is now on IR. Logan Wilson has been declared out before this game against the Ravens with a shoulder. Joe Mixon has a left ankle injury that he sustained against the Broncos, and he likely will begin his Week 16 prep limited, according to Zach Taylor. Isaiah Prince is already declared out of this game. Vernon Hargreaves is out. For the Browns, as Quincy said earlier, John Johnson suffered a hamstring injury Monday and is deemed day-to-day. Tat McKinley suffered a torn Achilles and is out for the season. Greg Newsome is already declared out with a concussion. For the Packers, Jair Alexander and Zadarius Smith, looks like their coach wouldn't anticipate either of those guys playing against the Browns on Thursday. Bakhtiari, or however you say his name, and Billy Turner are also declared out for that game. And then for the Steelers, Pat Freiermuth has been placed in concussion protocol after exiting in a win over the Titans. Kevin Rader is out. Buddy Johnson is out. Isaiah Buggs is out. For the Chiefs, as Tony pointed to at the beginning of the show, Tyreek Hill is planned to be placed on the COVID reserve list later tonight. He is questionable. Rashad Fenton, a corner, Blake Bell, a tight end, are also questionable. Another one that may have an impact on this game, the kicker for the Chiefs, Harrison Buckner, will not be activated from the COVID list against the Steelers after he tested positive on Monday. So
Travis Kelce, also COVID list.
Oh, goodness. Travis Kelce also added to the COVID list as well.
I'll check on that, but I believe they said he might be able to play because he's vaccinated. But yeah, Tyreek Hill and Kelce both on the COVID
list. We switch spots when we play the Chiefs? Can we switch
that game's guys right now? We all know how this goes. It's the Steelers. It's the Steelers facing a team that has COVID problems. We know how this goes. The NFL has set a long precedent here of how they treat the Steelers when they're.
I'm waiting for the Steelers to do the remix, right? Where they give you the first quarter that's fire, and then the 3 quarters is not. You know what I mean?
They did that. All their wins in that winning streak were like that. You know, the Broncos, Bears, and Seahawks games were kind of
right now. All we need to see is if Pat Mahomes joins it, I'm going to be like, oh wow, that would be insane. But moving on to the previews, we're going to start off with Quincy with the Browns at the Packers on the Thursday night game.
Now, there's a part of my mind that wants to be realistic about this, Quincy. There's a part of my mind that wants to be an actual analyst and break down the matchups. But then there's a part of my mind that's like, hey, it's week 16. Let's get into the memes, baby. And that's what we're going to do. We into the meme part of this season because if the Browns win the division, it's going to be a meme, baby. So you know what? Aaron Rodgers, Duck Dodgers, Browns by 50. Let's go. Let's go.
I like it. I love it.
They don't got Zadarius Smith. They don't got Jair Alexander. Baker Mayfield going to come back off of rest because he was so injured, right? Like, oh, man, too injured to play football. He done had 2 weeks of rest because he ain't do nothing in the Ravens game, right? He didn't do a single damn thing in that game, even though he played. So he's had 3 weeks of rest. Bye week, Ravens game, this game, he going to come back, firing it up against some backups. You know what I mean? The Browns defense, no Bakhtiari. That means Myles Garrett, 18 sacks. He's going to get the 18 on the season in this game. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be like, you know what? I don't want to play in the AFC North because Myles Garrett is in the AFC North, and I would like to never see that man again. And it's going to cost the Steelers a chance to get Aaron Rodgers. Yep, because of Myles Garrett and his fear of not wanting to play in the North. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all going down on Christmas. Aaron Rodgers, Duck Dodgers. Somebody give me the meme of the Nick Chubb face that I love using so much with the do-rag and the uncle and the black and mild, so I could put that up there. Aaron Rodgers, Duck Dodgers, Browns by 50. Let's go. Let's go.
Sorry for making that mistake, Quincy. I think I said Thursday because we said it's equivalent to a Thursday night game,
Saturday game,
with the game being moved.
It's a short week game on the road. Christmas. The Browns have no good odds in winning this game. Like, the odds are highly against the Browns. Like, they probably got like a 3% chance of winning in all reality, but that's enough. So you're saying there's a chance. Browns by 50. Let's go. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying those words.
Okay. You're not saying
no, nobody say them words, but Browns by 50.
Booty beatdown?
No. You heard that? See, that goes on the Steelers. That goes on the Steelers. I don't care.
Listen, wait till we get to the Steelers. I think we all know who we're predicting in that game.
Tony, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so line on this game is pretty stable, actually. It's Packers by 7, and it stayed there. Yeah, I mean, look, the Browns did this to themselves. They bitched and moaned and got their way to a short week to face Aaron Rodgers on the road. Cool.
It's a short week for some of the players. For half of the team, it's
I guess for everyone else, they got
like my week.
Yeah, I think I like the Packers in this one, and I think if I can get 7, I think I like 7 a lot. So give me the Packers minus the 7 here. I'll lay the points easily. Not say that the Browns are a quit team yet, but short week on the road in Lambeau.
That's where they're going to show their mettle. That's where Baker Mayfield's going to get all this $40 million contract people be talking about. He's going to do it right there in Lambeau. And you know what? He's going to hit the Lambeau leap after he runs for 2 touchdowns in this game. Baker Mayfield, 6 God. He's back, y'all.
All I will say in this game is it was hard as hell to face Aaron Rodgers at home. I couldn't imagine having to play him in Lambeau at this part of the time in the season. It's the Aaron Rodgers factor. It's the home field advantage factor. I hope that Cleveland can get some of those guys off of the COVID list. I think that they do put up a fight in this game for sure. But it's Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau. So I got to go with the Packers here on that one. Let me see if there's any super chats. I don't believe so. Let's get into the next scheduled game after that. We're going to go with Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Tony, what are your thoughts on this game?
My thoughts are, when is this game going to get played? Is it going to get played on Monday? Just whenever Andy Reid and the Chiefs feel like it. The NFL will let Steeler fans know whenever we can plan on tuning into this one. Line on this one opened at 10. It's come down to 7.5 or 7 in some places because of obviously Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Turns out Vegas feels like those two players are a decent chunk of that Chiefs offense. No, I mean, look, the Steelers are going to get their ass kicked in this game if history is any guide here. I understand that my Steelers have been a fun team down the stretch in these games, but as we've seen, home road splits for the Steelers are a real thing. They play much better at home, or they're at least capable of winning games at home. On the road, they are just scrappy, but they lose. I don't imagine they're going to be very scrappy against this Chiefs team. This is a Chiefs team that's putting it all together. They're playing really good football. I understand that they're kind of ravaged by COVID right now, and I guess that can have an effect on this game. But, given the NFL and their track record, they'll just wait until Kelce and Hill are ready to go, and then they'll let them suit up. So, no, I like the Chiefs. Big. This is a booty beatdown for the Chiefs. I'll say right now, if the Chiefs win by 30 in this game, I won't be surprised at all. The Steelers' offense isn't playing well. The defense is playing better. The Steelers' defense is. And really, where they're really shaky is running the football. I don't think you're really scared of Kansas City running the ball. But now that I say that, I expect Clyde Edwards-Helaire to go for about 250 against my Steelers. So, I'll take the Chiefs in a very, very big win.
Yeah, I think for me in this one, if Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are out, I think that does make this game much interesting. And I think that does obviously bode well for the Steelers when you're talking about 2 of the top offensive weapons in football. You take that away from Pat Mahomes, It's going to be interesting. But the other thing is this game is also in Kansas City, another tough place to play. With things being how they are, I think like Tony is saying, if they do move this game and they do allow Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to play, which I think they will, because everybody's fantasy teams will probably go down the drain if those guys do not play this week. I think that Pittsburgh will have a chance in this game if maybe one of those guys is out this game. But Kansas City, I mean, look at the streak that these guys are on. What is it, 7 or 8 straight wins for this team? Crazy. Yeah, Kansas City is going to take this one at Kansas City. You can't bet against them. Even if one of those guys don't play, it's still Pat Mahomes. And you got to think Pat Mahomes at home trying to seal up this bye with them now being the number 1 seed, which, goodness, they weren't even in this thing about a month or two ago. I think that they're going to go ahead and push through. Q, what are your thoughts on this game?
Don't just say Patrick Mahomes. Look, they still got Chad Henne on that roster, don't they? Chad Henne can make
anything is possible.
Chad Henne can make. I done seen it with my own 2 eyes. But yeah, when it comes to this game, I think the Chiefs are going to pull out an oldie but goodie. You remember when the Chiefs used to stink in the first half, and they would just come out and explode in the second half? I feel like the Steelers are going to be up by 15 in the first half. And Steelers fans are going to start to believe that we could beat the Chiefs. Ben's playing good to start the game, and then he's going to do the reverse. We're going to get the remix this week. I feel like we're going to get good Steelers in the first half, bad Steelers in the second half, and then Patrick Mahomes and them going to put it on. Look, we can talk about all these guys that the Chiefs are missing right now. They seem to just let dudes appear out of thin air out there in Kansas City, right? No Tyreek Hill for a year. Remember that one? Mecole Hardman comes up as a viable option for a while. They just produce guys in that system. And when Patrick Mahomes is playing at the level he is, it's easy to create guys like that. Now, Travis Kelce being out, that does hurt them, but do I expect this to be a close enough game to where Travis Kelce's going to be the difference or not? I really don't. So yeah, I would think I would have to take the Kansas City Chiefs here, but I don't think they win by more than 10 points. I think the line holds. If it's at 10, it holds.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, got one super chat here from Chase or Chase Brown. I'm not sure how to say that. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, bro. For $2 says that wide receiver, I think he's talking about Valdes Scantling, is on the COVID list for the Packers. Let's get into the game of the week, I guess, for the division. Whenever we have either of us playing each other, it's always the game of the week. Let's get into this Ravens at Bengals game. Tony, let's start with you first as far as what your thoughts are on this game.
Yeah, huge game in the division. I mean, this is it's not loser leaves town, because we talked about getting to 10 is the key here. And obviously both these teams can still get to 10 by winning out, but the Bengals have to play the Chiefs, the Ravens have to play the Rams. So you feel like this one's almost a must win for both. This one's in Cincinnati. Line here opened at, should have had this for, opened at 2.5, stayed at 2.5. So this is Bengals by 2.5. Look, I think they think Lamar's going to come back and play in this one, right? And we had the whole segment earlier about Lamar and versus Huntley and all that. I'm going to say this, and then Lamar's going to go off in this game. I mean, look, when Lamar runs for 200 and throws for another 200 and scores 4 touchdowns and I look like an idiot next week, I'll take it. That's fine. I've done it all year. I like the Bengals in this game because I don't like Lamar playing, especially in this environment, for him to come back on the road against Cincinnati team that especially defensively is still playing well. I'll take the Bengals in this one. The 2.5 is easy to give up because, I mean, again, even if it's a close game down the stretch, I like the Bengals to win by at least a field goal. So, yeah, I'll take the Bengals.
Quincy.
This is a tough one for me, right? No, it's not. I want the Bengals to win, and I need the Bengals to win. So guess who's gonna win this one? Bengals gonna win this one. Now, look, I ain't trying to end up on another video. I
am. I want to be on the Ravens one this time.
I'm gonna stay off of the videos for this week. So the Bengals are gonna win, and not only are the Bengals gonna win, this gonna be the year the Bengals win a playoff game too. Yeah, shout out to that Bengal fans. Leave me alone this week. When y'all don't catch me with these strays that y'all always catch me with when y'all have a big win. So Bengals gonna win. Bengals by, what did I say last time? Bengals by 10, and they actually won by
10. You were right. Yeah. Well, it was more than 10, but yeah.
Yeah, it was more than 10. Bengals by 6.5. It's going to be a little bit less this time around. It's going to be a tighter game, but Bengals by 6.5, and it comes down to the kicker, and he's gonna make 2 kicks that change this game completely.
So for me in this one, I think that this is a game that, I've been waiting to see what will happen because I did not expect us to do what we did to the Ravens the first game. Did not see that coming whatsoever. I thought that we'd have a good chance in that game. Did not see it that way. Obviously, the Ravens definitely want some get back because whenever you have a game or a performance like that, the first thing that you want to do is look at the calendar and see when the next time you're going to play that team again. And I think going into that game, I don't know where it came from, but I think that there were some words exchanged talking about that it was going to be a rough one and it was some bad blood. I don't know if that stemmed from the Logan Wilson's comments that were taken out of context about Lamar Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
But this is one that it's already kind of starting on social media to rev up. I did see my man Eli Apple said that Lamar would be very generous in this game, and he was not talking about Christmas. So I think that they've got some stuff there. And he also said something about Ravens fans were talking big cash after the game. So I think on both sides, this is a game that they're looking forward to. And I think I also saw Jermaine Pratt kind of joined in on it, saying that they were going to try to take care of the Ravens. So this is going to be one to watch on social media and in the game. And I think that is going to live up to the hype because the Ravens definitely still have what it takes. I think whenever they have just Lamar Jackson, that is something that has, for a while, thrown this Bengals defense off outside of the last game. We have to see if the Bengals are going to deploy the cover zero blitz again in this game and how they would do it. I will say this, though, and it's not because of my argument earlier. I think Bengals fans are saying that they would rather face Lamar Jackson than Huntley just because of what Huntley has done. And the Bengals do not have a good rap sheet when it comes to going against backup quarterbacks. That is just not something ever since like TJ Yates. It's just not been the thing that has boded well for the Bengals. And so I think that this will be a close game. I think the advantage, though, goes to the Bengals with it being at home. So I think it'll still be a quite close game, but I think the fact that the Ravens are so hurt in the secondary, and one of the matchups I was looking forward to was Jamar Chase versus Marlon Humphrey 2.0, because there's no way Marlon Humphrey would have had to let that last performance slide. Unfortunately, we're not going to get it, so we're going to have to wait until next season to get that matchup. But with them being hurt in the secondary going against the Migos, that does not bode well for them defensively, and this is already a unit, as I talked about before. Even with Marlon Humphrey, they have been susceptible in that secondary. So I want to take the Bengals here in a close one at home. And I'm going to end with another run of Super Chats here. I believe we only have one last one, and then we're going to bring this show to a close. We've got one from Ray Rags 14 for $2. Says, oh no, the 28-0 Kansas City playoff comeback game again, Q.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be like when Michael Jackson used to bring out the glove, like, oh, we bringing back the old school hits. Okay, you know what I mean? We're going to do Billie Jean. All right.
By the way, Steeler fans, when we're talking about the Bengals-Ravens game, that game does actually have, obviously it has implications for the Steelers. Steelers probably want the Ravens to win just because the Steelers play the Ravens the next week. And obviously they can control their own destiny there by beating the Ravens. So,
we done ran out of Raven games, so we need the Ravens to drop one game that we cannot control. So
yeah.
We need that one.
Well, they got the Rams coming up. They got the Rams.
I don't trust Matt Stafford. I don't trust that entire division.
I'm with you on that
entire NFC West.
I'm with you on the Matt Stafford one. But thank you guys for tuning in, for staking with us for 2 hours. Thanks to my co-host for us being able to pull this off. We still got it at 2 hours, boys. This is the AFC North Talk. We will not have another show this week. This is the big one. So if you're watching this on Rewind, please be sure to give this a like and a comment. Let us know your thoughts in the comments for sure. We will be back next week, likely, possibly earlier in the week. But if you want to know when we're actually coming, be sure to hit that notification bell. That way you're able to figure out when we are going live. But you guys have a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas, all of that. Make sure that you guys, enjoy your family during this break, and we will be back with you guys next week. But before we get out, I'll let everybody let you know where they can find their stuff, starting with Mr. Quincy Carrier.
Yeah, youtube.com/Quincy Carrier, or just Quincy Carrier on YouTube. You can find me that way. Yeah, just check me out.
And you can find me on YouTube at New Stripe City. I'm also on Twitter at New Stripe City. So you can find me there. And of course, you can find me here on the AFC North Talk. And with Sonny, you can find him on YouTube with SCG Sports. And you can also find him on that on Twitter. And then we also have the AFC North Talk Twitter account. So be sure to give that a follow. And Tony, where can they find your stuff at?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Steeler Country. You can find me on Locked On Steelers mostly every Tuesday, although that schedule's changing around a little bit. And then, of course, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Steeler Country with Tony Serino.
All right. This has been the AFC North Talk. And you guys have a great holiday season.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?